town clerk for Mongu. I'm accompanied by my directors from Mongu who introduced themselves. I'm also accompanied by my predecessor, the town clerk for Chipata, who I took over from. I took over office in May 2022 last year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Cameron Daron, former town clerk, Mongu Municipal Council.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Martin Chimpambwe, Director Finance for Mongu Municipal Council. I went to Mongu in July 2022.
Okay.
Morning, Chair. I'm Wina Grace, Director Human Resource and Administration. I joined Mongu Council in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members. I'm Siangandu Jones. I've been at Mongu Municipal Council for 8 years.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm Acting Director of Engineering Services.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Amangwato Mnachilao, Director Public Health. I've been in Mongu since 2020 August.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Gabriel Louis. I'm a former Director of Finance at Mongu Municipal Council. I joined Mongu Municipal Council in January 2021 and left in June 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Pumolo Mombona, Group Internal Auditor, Mongu Municipal Council. Joined the council in 2017 September to date. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Witness. Witness, my name is Mulunda Darius, Member of Parliament for Siavonga Constituency, Southern Province, and I'm the chairperson for this committee, the Committee on Local Government Accounts. Witness, you are appearing before this committee as a witness. You're not appearing as an accused one, but as a witness, and we would love you to help us to write a good report by the information that you're going to give unto us. Before we get into our business, under Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, members of parliament enjoy what we call the immunity in the House, and this is extended to you when you appear before any parliamentary committee. You are given the immunity that whatever you say here will not be used against you anywhere. But if you choose to mislead this committee, misinform the committee, then the same Cap 12 will be used against you. And I have no doubt in my mind that you wouldn't take that route and that you are going to give us the information, very useful and factual information that we use to generate a very good report to the main house. With that said, Town Clerk, I'll now invite you to speak to your document before this committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. I'm presenting the memorandum on the report of the Auditor General on the audit of the accounts of Mongu Municipal Council for the financial year ended 31st December 2021, and the specific paragraph is paragraph 42. Paragraph 42A, we go straight to the audit findings. An examination of the financial and other records maintained at the council for the financial year ended.
Sorry. Turn quick.
Sir.
Just a minute. The guidance is that you just read the query and then you go to the management response because of query. For instance, on page, is it page 3? Page 3, we are on A. We are appearing before this committee under paragraph 42.1. So the first one is A, budget and income. Then you go to local taxes and management response, cause of query, without reading anything.
Thank you, Chair.
Welcome, sir.
So I goes to management on local taxes. I
Yes.
got to management response
Yes.
and the cause of the query.
Exactly.
Thank you, Chair, with your guidance. Management, on personal level, management wishes to state that the adverse variance recorded under personal levy was as a result of non-collection of amounts expected from small business enterprises, which remained closed due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Further, the revenue collected under this budget line came from the Ministry of Finance in respect of personal levies for government workers, and the amounts collected from large-scale business enterprises, such as the Zambia and other big companies, stores, etc. On property rates, the committee may wish to note that the council performed well under residential property rates, where 88% was recorded. This is because the property owners were still in active employment. As a result, they were able to pay the property rates, while the poor collection under commercial property rates was as a result of the small-scale business prices. The liquidity challenges as explained above. The action taken, Chair, is that management wishes to state that the council invoked the provisions by executing the warrant of distress property rate owners. The total amount that was raised was 315,699 kwacha 50 ngwe, was collected through the court sheriff. The sales ledger is as shown in Appendix 1A. Further, to encourage compliance, Finance, Valuation and Commercial Undertakings Committee of the Council resolved to give an amnesty of 50% to the ratepayers who would pay 50% of the outstanding property rates arrears as at 21st December 2022 at the meeting held in February 2023. The resolution of the Finance and Valuation and Commercial Undertakings Committee is yet to be adopted by the full Council. The remedial measures, Chair, on this is that the Council will continue to engage the stakeholders. Where the engagement fail, we shall continue to invoke the bailiffs for the outstanding property rates. On fees and charges, Chair, on the cause of query, management wishes to state that the adverse variance of 3.2525 million 720 kwacha recorded under plot premium was caused by the suspension of the sale or lease of any council property and land alienation by the Ministry of Local Government by then through circular number, that one MLGO 1014/1, dated 16th April 2021. The committee may wish to note that the circular was issued after the council budgets were approved, and the management could not adjust the budget because the date of the lifting the suspension was not known at that time. The action taken is that management wishes to state that immediately the suspension of the sale of land was lifted, the council began to process land disposal, and a total sum of 265,000 was collected. Both circulars for the suspension of the sale of land and the lifting of the suspension, we have attached them as Appendix 1B. The remedial measure, Chair, is that management will ensure that in future the budget is reviewed when the circular has to ban the sale of land is issued. On billboards, cause of the query, management wishes to state that the council recorded an adverse variance under this budget line because some billboards were abandoned, which led to the council not to collect the amounts due. In addition, some billboards were not paid for due to the fact that the billboard owners faced financial challenges during the year under review. Action taken, management wishes to state that a total sum of 77,368 and 76 ngwe were collected, and that billboards and demand notices were sent to the billboard owners demanding for the outstanding amount. This is also seen in Appendix 1C. The remedial measure is that management will ensure that billboards which are not paid for are uprooted and legal action is taken. On rentals, the cause of the query, Chair, is that the committee may wish to note that the adverse variance recorded under the budget line was due to the fact that some shop tenants defaulted due to liquidity challenges they faced as a result of the COVID 19 impact, which we have alluded above. The action taken is that management wishes to state that rental arrears in amounts totaling 22,578 have been collected, and that the rentals due for 2022 in amounts totaling 53,322 for the year 2022 was collected, giving a total collection of 75,900. This was after management issued eviction notices. See the ledgers, which as Appendix 1D. The remedial measure on this issue, Chair, is that management will ensure that tenants adhere to the lease agreements by paying the rentals in advance. On licenses and permits, management response on the cause of the query is that the failure to meet the budgeted income on licenses and permits was a result of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, second wave, which caused most business houses scale down or closing completely. The action taken is that management wishes to state that the council had constituted a task force team who have been charged with the responsibility of ensuring that all traders are compliant. Further, the council has updated the database of all business houses in the district, and the individual ledgers accounts have been opened to help the council monitor the compliance. The remedial measure is that management will ensure that there is continuous update on the database and tracking of the payments so as to improve on the compliance. On the levies, the cause of the query, the management has noted the auditor's observation and wish to state that the query was as a result of the use of unupdated database at the time of budgeting, as well as unforeseen new traders that come on board in the course of the year. Mostly this chair is in fish trading. The action taken is that it is regrettable that the budget was not flexed or adjusted to cater for excess income. However, management wishes to state that the revenue database has since been updated, and budgets for subsequent years are based on the updated revenue basis as the basis for budgeting. The remedial measure is that management will ensure that the revenue database is updated regularly so as to give accurate estimates at the time of budgeting. On the commercial venture, Chair, the cause of the query was a result of the net profit figure reported in the financial statement as income against the gross budgeted income for the commercial venture. Further, the Samanawina motel was under rehabilitation, hence the operations of the motel was not at its full capacity. The action taken is that management wishes to state that the council has adjusted the budget and income report for the year 2021. The total sales for the commercial motel venture was 168,863 for the year 2022 against the budgeted sales figure of 565,069 kwacha. The extract of the general purpose financial statement is on Appendix E. The remedial measure is that management will ensure that the budgeted income is compared with the actual receipts for the period and not compared with the net profit as what was posted in the figures. On other receipts, management response on the cause of the query is that the over collection of 13,056,344 on other receipts was as a result of the funds which we received from the Electoral Commission of Zambia for the 2021 general election activities, which was not budgeted for. The bank statements is showing this. The action taken is that management regrets to respond that to report that the supplementary budget was not prepared to normalize and account for the excess income that was shown there. The remedial measure is that management will ensure that in the future supplementary budgets are prepared whenever there is a variation between the budgeted income and the actual receipts for the national support. Local Government Equalization Fund. The cause of the query, is that the adverse variance on local government equalization fund was as a result of the deduction done at source by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development for the insurance of the fire truck, LASIF contributions, Zulao HQ, and Fire Source HQ, which caused the variance between the actual receipts and the budgeted amounts at the council. The action taken is that management will continue to rely on the advice from the parent ministry whenever they deduct monies at source for the insurance of fire trucks, pensions, contributions, LASIF, Zulao headquarters, and Fire Source. Remedial measure is that the council management wishes to seek the indulgence of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to increase the local government equalization fund from the current 1.3 million and 58,000 to 1.8 million kwacha. The current local equalization fund grant is not enough for the 20% capital component, union contributions, councillors' allowances, and the recent 10% salary increments which was done across the board. On Constituency Development Fund, the cause of the query, the favorable variance on Constituency Development Fund was a result of the interest earned on Mongo Central and Nalikwanda Constituency Development Fund accounts. The action taken is that management wishes to regret that the supplementary budget was not prepared to cater for the interest earned. The council has since transferred the interest earned to the Treasury account, the Ministry of Central Finance. Remedial measure, management will ensure that in future interest earned is reported and accounted for in accordance with the provisions of Section 33 of the Public Finance and Management Act number 1 of 2018. On operational matters, the cause of the query is that 4 markets in Mongo districts were not controlled and managed by the local authority in accordance with Section 5.1 of the Market and Bus Stations Act number 7. It is number 7, Chair, of 2007. The action taken is management wishes to state that the 4 markets in question are being controlled and managed by the traditional leadership through the Barosi Royal Establishment. In short, it's called BRA. Remedial measure, Council will engage the government through the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development with regard to the taking over of these 4 markets. The cause of the query on the trading from undesignated places is that traders were operating in undesignated places contrary to Section 7.1 of the Market and Bus Stations Act number 7 of 2007. Action taken. Management wishes to state that stakeholders engagement was held on 18th January 2023, at which an agreement was reached that traders shall be operating in the markets from 06 hours to 18 hours. Further, traders are only allowed to trade outside the markets from 18 hours to 20 hours. And the minutes of the stakeholder meeting for this engagement is Appendix 2. And wish to report, Chair, that this is currently what is now happening. Remedial measure, the Council will continue to abide by the provisions of the Section 7.1 of the Market and Bus Station Act number 7 of 2007. Further, the Council also commenced the taking stock of the stands in the markets in order to establish the empty stands which shall be allocated to the traders once this engagement is concluded. The cause of the query on the maintenance of township roads and failure to maintain roads. The cause of the query is that the local authority did not maintain Arthur Winner Road and Old Shoprite Road due to liquidity problems. The action taken, Chair, is that the Old Shoprite Road management wishes to state that Old Shoprite Road has been included on a maintenance schedule for the Mongo Limurunga Road, which will be done by Avic International, contracted by the central government. The scope of works is overhauling the entire stretch to bituminous standard with lined drainages. The same issue, sir, Honorable Chair, on Arthur Winner Road. Management wishes to state that Arthur Winner Road is also under Monguli Murunga Road to be done by AVIC International. The scope of works is also to overhaul the entire stretch to bitumen standard with the lined drainages and the installation of culverts on selected sections. Further, we wish to confirm that AVIC International as a contractor is right now on site. Remedial measure, the local authority shall continue to engage central government through Road National Fund agents to fund maintenance of roads in the district, as the cost of maintaining the roads is beyond the capacity of Mongwe Municipal Council. The cause of the query on failure to conduct fire inspection, management wishes to respond that the council did not issue fire certificate to 7 government offices, 3 training institutions, and 3 medical facilities who did not comply with the safety standards. Action taken, management wishes to state that the fire inspections were conducted for the institutions in question. However, these institutions did not comply with the fire safety regulations. Hence, the council could not proceed with the issuance of the fire certificates. Instead, a recommendation was done to improve the fire safety standards as required by the law. You can see the attached Appendix 3 for the inspections reports that were done. The remedial measure is that the local authorities will continue to sensitize the public institutions on the fire safety matters and advise them to make budgetary provisions for the payment of fire certificates to the local authority as their legal requirements. On the failure to provide sufficient protective clothing to firefighters, Chair, the cause of the query is that the council did not provide sufficient protective clothing for the firefighters due to liquidity problems at that time. However, on the action taken, management wishes to state that the council has since procured the protective clothing for the firefighters, and we have provided the pictures in the appendices. The remedial action, Chair, is that the council shall ensure protective clothing for firefighters are procured on time in the future. On environmental management and failure to provide protective clothing, management response on the cause of the query is that the council did not provide sufficient protective clothing for employees such as heavy-duty PVs, gloves, and gas mufflers due to liquidity problems at that time. The action taken is that management wishes to state that protective clothing such as the duty PVC gloves and the gas mufflers have since been procured, and this also is evidenced in Appendix 4B. Remedial measure, the management will ensure that protective clothing are provided on time. On the cause of the query on failure to cover waste during transportation, the council, on the cause of the query, the council had not procured waste covering tents. Hence, waste was not being covered during its transportation to the dump site to avoid littering due to limited resources at that time. The action taken, Chair, is that it is regrettable that the waste covering tents were not provided for at the time of the audit. However, we wish to state that the council procured waste covering nets, and therefore waste is being covered during transportation to the dump site, and we have provided the pictures in Appendix 4C. The remedial measure is that the council will ensure, it is mentioned that will ensure the waste is covered during transportation in order to prevent health risks to the community. On the lack of disposal site, the cause of the query was that the council had no dump site, hence waste was dumped in undesignated areas. The action taken, Chair, is that management wishes to state that land for the new dump site was procured, and we have made a provision in the 2023 budget for the new dump site to be approved by ZEMA. Further, we wish to state that we have since the continuous depositing of the waste in a undesignated area. They have also even payment, the proof for the payment voucher where we have procured the land. The remedial measure is that the council shall ensure that waste is deposited at the designated dump site which is now available. Failure to collect revenue on property rates. This will be married with our previous response. The cause of the query is that the committee may wish to note that the uncollected property rate of 766,460 at the end of the year 2021 financial year was as a result of the non-compliance by the small-scale business enterprises who had experienced liquidity challenges as explained above. That is the one I'm referring to. The action taken, Chair, is that the Council has so far collected a total of 315,699 ngwe against the outstanding balance of 450,760 kwacha 50 ngwe. Further, the Council has approved a debt relief of 50% on properties that would clear the 50% of the outstanding balances as at 1st December 2022. Remedial measure, management will ensure outstanding property rates arrears are corrected through engagement of court bailiffs. On the rentals, the cause of the query is that the committee may wish to note that the adverse effects recorded under this budget line was due to the fact that some shop tenants defaulted due to the liquidity challenges faced by the result of the impact of the post-COVID-19 pandemic. The amount of 22,000 under action taken owed by the tenants in respect of rentals has been collected in full. The remedial measure is that the management will ensure that the tenants adhere to the lease agreements by paying the rentals in advance. Again, the cause of the query on billboards should be married with the earlier responses is that management wishes to state that the council recorded an adverse variance under this budget line because some billboards were abandoned, which led to the council not to collect the amounts due. In addition, some billboards were not paid for due to the fact that the billboard owners had faced financial challenges during the year under review. The action taken is that the council collected a total of 77,368 kwacha 76 were as at 14th January 2023 against the billboard balances owed as at 30th September 2022, leaving a balance of 974,081 kwacha 24 ngwe. Further, we wish to state that the billboards or demand notices the bills and demand notices were sent to the clients demanding for the outstanding balances. On plot premiums, the council collected a total of 141,500 against the outstanding balance on a plot premium residence as at 30 September of 2022, leaving a balance of 1,2,909,672. Further, we wish to state the council has since issued demand notices to all the clients demanding for the outstanding balance. The plot premium on commercial, the council has collected a total of 124,000 against the outstanding balance on the plot premium residence as at 31st September 2023, leaving a balance of 473,515. Further, we wish to state that the council has issued demand notices to all the clients demanding for outstanding balances. The table below, Chair, shows the summary of the total that was due, the collected, and the balance of 3,198,028 kwacha 74 ngwe. So the remedial measure is that the council to ensure tenants pay rentals in advance for the rented shops. The council will uproot the billboards with arrears and take legal action against those that are outstanding. The council will repossess unpaid for plots and re-advertise to the general public on a first-come, first-served basis. Management of the payroll. The cause of the query is that the council paid the salaries and allowance to the Director of Legal Services who was absent from duty between February 2021 and March 2022 because the officer was still in employment. Management wishes to state that the paid study leave for the Director of Legal Services was approved, and the approval forms are available for verification. Further, we wish to state that the Council had only one officer admitted to the bar who was representing Council in the High Court of Zambia. Therefore, the Council used to recall the officer during court cases hearing against the reason of paying allowances and travel benefits. The approved leave forms are also attached on Appendix 6. The remedial measure is that the management will ensure the conditions of service for employees in local government service conditions are strictly adhered to. On overemployment of staff, the cause of the query was management wishes to say on the cause of the query that the mandate to employ and deploy staff is the preserve of the Local Government Service Commission. The Council only received the staff deployed and we have no authority on the matter. However, on the action taken is that the Council wrote to the Local Government Service Commission requesting the excess staff to be transferred to other needy councils. The letters which we wrote to the Commission Chair are attached in our bundle of the appendixes on Appendix 7. And the remedial measure is that the Council will continue to engage the Local Government Service Commission with regard to excess staff matters, because these staff matters, Chair, as we speak, are still an issue. On the management of assets, fleet management, and the delayed repair of motor vehicles, the cause of the query, management wishes to state that the cause of the query was a result of the delay in the repair of the motor vehicles due to the validity of the contract. Management wishes to state that the Council had only paid 60,000 part payment towards the repair of the said vehicle against the contract price of 152. Further, I wish to submit that the cited vehicles have not been repaired and brought back to the Council as observed by the auditors. Arising from this, management made inquiries to proper parties who in their letter dated November made demands for the additional payments, but the Council in the letter dated 6th December made counter demands, among other things, validity of the contract at the time of transaction and evidence of commenced works, which when the initial payments were made. In addition, Chair, this matter is currently being investigated by the Anti-Corruption Commission after full Council resolution under minute number MMC 4110/22 held on 7th October 22. The letters and the minutes of the Council resolution are there. The remedial measure management will ensure that the vehicles are repaired once the investigations are concluded. Management of Local Government Equalization Fund. The cause of the query, the Council used borrowed funds to pay salaries for the employees and the fuel for services due to liquidity challenges and inadequacy of Local Government Equalization Fund that the Council faced. The action taken is that the management wishes to state that when the financial status improved, the Council reimbursed in full the borrowed funds. The Appendix 9 shows the full reimbursement of the funds that were borrowed from the Equalization Fund. Remedial measure, the Council has written to the Local Government Service Commission to downsize the labor force at Mongo Municipal Council in order to reduce the wage bill. The Council will engage the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development to consider increasing the Local Government Equalization Fund for Mongo Municipal Council. The Council has commenced the process of updating the valuation law, which will increase our revenue base once approved. See the attached minutes of the Council and the letter to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. Implementation of the projects, construction of the new office block, failure to complete the project. The cause of the query, the delay to complete the construction of the office block was the result of the funding of the project in phases. The action taken is that the management wishes to state that the office block is now completed. See the attached latest pictures on Appendix 10. The remedial measures, the Council will ensure that projects of such nature are fully funded before they are commenced. Questionable payment for building materials. Because of the query, management acknowledges the auditor's observation and wishes to state that the cause of the query was a result of the payment voucher not supported by quotation, LPO, receipt, or GRN at the time of audit due to the fact that the documents were mistakenly submitted as evidence to court in a case of Mongo Municipal Council versus Tapo Channel Dealers for non-delivery of building materials for Mongo Central CDF. The action taken is that further management wishes to state that the documents have been retrieved and the documents are now attached on Appendix 11. The remedial measures that management will ensure that the provisions of the Public Finance Management General Regulations of 2021 are adhered to. On the Constituency Development Fund, delayed implementation of CDF projects. Because of the query, management wishes to report that the delay in the implementation of the 2021 projects was due to the fact that the CDF committees was dissolved on 12th May 2021, and by the time the funds were disbursed to the council in October 2021, the CDF committee had not yet been put in place to oversee its expenditure. The CDF committee was only put in place in December 2021. By the time we were orienting the CDF committee members in mid-December 2021, most of the sites were not reachable due to flooding and the terrain of the area. The window period for project implementation in Western Province is limited due to flooding in most parts of Western Province during that period. So the action taken is that the management wishes to state that the 2021 CDF projects have been implemented and the expenditure ledgers and project status reports are provided for in Appendix 12. The remedial measure is that the management will ensure that projects are implemented on time according to the new CDF guidelines. The management of liabilities, failure to remit statutory obligations, and the failure to settle staff obligations. The cause of the query is the council had not paid a total amount of 20,428,629 owed to the creditors as at 31st December 2021 due to the liquidity problems. The action taken, management wishes to report that the council has paid 3,550,253 towards statutory creditors, and further the council under minute number FVCU 22/0822 approved the debt settlement agreement between Mongo Municipal Council and the NAPSA amounting to 143,993 in respect of properties owed to the council against unremitted pension contributions. Further, we wish to report that a total of 569,000 has been paid towards the outstanding staff creditors. The table below is indicating the summaries of what was outstanding, 13.1 million against the payment of 3.5 million, giving us a balance of 9.5 million. On staff creditors, the total was 7.3 million. We paid 569, the balance is 6.7 million. Remedial measure chair, the council has requested the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development to bail out Mongo Municipal Council as the total outstanding debt is beyond the capacity of the local authority. Further, the council will engage the statutory institutions to enter into time to pay agreements. As I conclude, Chair, I wish to assure the committee that the remedial measures that have been submitted to your committee will be implemented and reviewed for further improvement. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mongo Municipal Council, honorable members, honorable Kolala.
Chair, before we can get fully into the details, I want Mongo Municipal to confirm, without the 13 million from Electoral Commission of Zambia. You only collected 11 million, confirm, out of the 20 million budgeted for.
May I request my Director of Finance to...
Director of Finance?
You are right, Chair.
Is that your position?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
Would you tell us? We want to know which one is realistic, your correction or your budget. Was this budget done by qualified personnel?
Yes, Chair.
Tell us which one is realistic, the budget or the correction?
Chair, the budget was realistic, but due to the reasons that we have explained in our report, this is what's caused the variances. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Sumumba?
Thank you very much, Chair. I wanted to know when did the Electoral Commission of Zambia, the funds that you received from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, become locally generated funds? Why did you put the funds that you received from ECZ to be part of your locally generated funds? I submit, Chair.
Town Clerk or Director of Finance?
Thank you, Chair.
Director
Chair,
of Finance, your colleague can help you. Yes, former DF. Your mic.
Thank you, Chair. Why they are part of locally generated, actually, basically, this is just the format of the reports that the council has produced. But if you look further, you look at the same item number 8, it shows other receipts. So these other is falls under receipts. So income from ECZ, it's also in the category of other receipts that we received in the year.
Chair.
Oh, sorry. Chair, thank you very much. We are talking about locally generated funds, and you budgeted for the locally generated funds 20,488,842. Now, you have included as a positive variance, like you achieved, and yet the reason why you feel you achieved is because of this money that came from the national support, which is ECZ. That's why, according to the question from the honorable member, he stated to say, which one should we follow? From your collection, because when you deduct this 13 million from the total budget that you budgeted for, you find that you have a negative variance. You didn't collect it. So why did you add the funds that came from ECZ as part of your local generated? And it seems like you worked hard, and yet there is nothing that you did in terms of collection. I submit, Chair.
You can answer. Thank you, Chair. Maybe I need to go back further a bit. These figures were gotten from our financial reports. That is the annual financial statements of the council that we submit to the auditors on a yearly basis. So these figures were picked by Auditors General in this format. But if you look at the financial statements, it would show that locally generated is separate from the ECZ funds. So these, when they were reported in the query, they were added together. But if you look at the financial statements for the year ended 2021, you find that 13 million is reported on a separate sheet. However, the variances that are there, I explained item by item for each source of revenue that we had, the negative variance that is 11 million. Thank you.
Let's get back to the corrected revenue. When you were budgeting, were you budgeting during the COVID period? Or this budget was done before COVID?
Thank you, Chair. This budget was done during COVID, and we anticipated that the COVID would reduce, because at that time we're also receiving in the country jabs for COVID-19. So we anticipated that in that particular year we won't be affected that much because of the COVID virus.
And the year went by. You saw COVID did not finish. There was even a second wave. You could not revisit your budget?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the way the year went by, and I think one of the contributing factor in that particular year was the challenges that we had with our valuation room, where we had several meetings with the Western Chamber of Commerce, where they were disputing the poundage which was used. However, if you look at if I can take you to page. If I can take you to page 13. So if I take you to page 13, you notice that, for example, property rates, because of the, we didn't want to rush into reviewing the budget. We had continued to implement the resolutions that we had, where we had engaged bailiffs. So you look at property rates. At the time they were doing the verification, the monies owing on property rates had reduced to 766,000 kwacha.
Thank you very much. On page 2, on the vote of...
Honorable Kapampi, are you still on the same?
on this?
It's on levies still. Or it's on income, but on levies.
Okay. Maybe, Honorable Simumba, maybe...
On commercial venture, why did you budget for something that you knew that it was under rehabilitation? You can see that on that vote, you budgeted for 565, 69, you only managed to collect 918. And the reasons are there. You have given the reasons to say someone a winner was under rehabilitation. Hence, the operations of the motel was not at a full capacity. As a professional, why did you budget for something that you knew that it was under operation? I mean, under rehabilitation. As a Chair.
Before you respond, Honorable Kapampi, let's take note of that.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Mongu. My name is Akabaso Kampampi, Member of Parliament for Mansabombo constituency and a member of this committee. I'll take you to page 5. On levies. Chair, it's quite worrisome if the whole council can respond to their action taken, saying they regret that their database was not updated, hence the projection of a lesser amount when they were budgeting. Is it TC? Why is it that as a council you couldn't see this overlap, which was only noticed by the external auditors to say there was actually this overlap, which you only realized after you overcollected? Why is it that these issues are not kept in check every time when you are working on your database, instead of an issue being queried and then there is a positive variance and the reason you give it's because our database was not updated? I submit, Chair.
Is it town clerk or director finance? The former director finance?
Chair, I'll attempt to answer the question that has just been raised, then the other one will be answered.
All right, okay.
When you talk about fees, and we talk about the database, this vote is affected by fish levies. And the fish levies is very, very difficult to actually have a database, apart from the basic data of the fish traders that we normally collect who are situated at the harbor. The levies during the year are influenced by the volumes of the fish that year, the water levels, and so forth. So what happens is that, in short, we would say that every year after collection, that's when we'll establish exactly what was the supporting database for the amount of fish levy that we have collected that year. For example, when they were preparing the budget in 2020 for 2021, they were looking at the levies that they had collected before and formed it as a basis for forecasting the fish levy, which is unpredictable for 2021. But due to improved waters and the flooding and so forth, there was a lot of fish production, and as a result, that is what contributed to that. So when we talk about an updated database, yes, it's a very tricky sentence to mention, but we are also dealing with the data that is not very accurate, which you can say this year we have so much fish traders, we can be able to raise so much. That is what I wanted to say, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is it on the same?
Yes, Chair.
On the same he was explaining.
No. It's in the same revenue correction. There's a question Honorable Simumba asked, where I want to understand something. We asked you a question on the issue of not revisiting the database, the budget. When you go to page 4, or you can start from page 3 on plot premium, the ministry issued the statement in April, and you went up to the end of the year without revisiting your budget on the issues of plots. On the other side, you are telling us to say because you had instituted warrant of distress, isn't it? What reason on the issue of plot would you give?
Okay, Director Finance, there are two questions. You need to respond. Just a minute. He responds to his question, Honorable Kapampi, and then you. Okay, have you taken note of those questions that are not responded to?
Yes.
Please, you can respond, and then you have another set of questions.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with the question on Samuel Awina, where it was reported that the combination of each of the budget was 565 and the income was 918. So on our response on Samuel Awina, which is on page 6.
Page 6.
If you go to page 6, you find that the actual income which we had received from Samuel Awina was 168,000 kwacha, 168,863. So the figure that was reported in the income there was the net profit after the expenses. So during that year, actually, we took advantage of the elections, and the other source of income that we had anticipated was the Komboka ceremony in 2021, which never took place. So when we had ECZ, we had utilized Samuel Awina to provide all the services that it's to be able to provide during election period. So the council received actually 168,000 kwacha, 863. And in that same period, the council was struggling to pay salaries. So some of the expenditures that Samuel Awina raised from the 163 was used to pay some of the workers that were engaged to work under someone a winner. So the figure that is on page 2, actually this was the net profit after all the expenses, including salaries, which is 918. So in short, we had raised 168,000, and we anticipated that we also have the Komboka in the same year that would be able to utilize the facility.
Thank you. Honorable Nyambose?
Chair, there are questions that have not been answered. Maybe if we can allow, maybe we should be asking one.
Yes, I thought he has answered them. You still remember his question, or you can repeat it?
I think the other question was on levies and why we didn't review the budget. Is it the one, Honorable?
I was asking about, I said we go to, I was asking about the land premium plots, which the circular was given to you in April, and that is something you planned for. But from April, you did not revisit your budget up to the close of the year. Then from your response, your recent response, also you were talking about the issue of you expecting finances from your lodge because of Komboka. When is Komboka held?
Should be somewhere April, May.
So from April also Komboka. April it did not happen. Did you think it will happen in December or in June? Why didn't you revisit your budget?
Director of Finance?
Thank you, Chair. On the performance of the lodge, I think I need to admit that it's regrettable that we didn't review after knowing that the Komboka will not take place. But we had hoped that ECZ, since ECZ will be coming towards the end of the year, we hope that would ensure that we maximize the 13 million from the ECZ to ensure that it provides all the food and other conference facilities for these meetings under ECZ. Then on the issue of land, because the ban was, initially when the ban was written to all councils, it didn't state exactly when the ban would be lifted. So we kept on anticipating that any time the ban might be lifted, and unfortunately, it was only lifted somewhere in November. That was towards the year end. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Nyambose?
Thank you, Chair, for giving me this opportunity. My question is on page 4, Town Clerk and the team. On the rentals there. And I want you to help me, DF or anyone from your team, on the action taken for non-collection of rentals. Management wishes to state that the rental arrears in amount of totaling 22,578 kwacha have been collected, and that rentals due for 2022 in amounts of 53,000 for the year 2022 were collected, giving a total collection of 75,900. This was after management issued eviction notices. I want you to lead me to the evidence that you issued the eviction notices, because I've noticed that the appendices that you are attaching or referring us to are not speaking to the actual query or response from yourselves. So I want you particular one, I want you to take us to D1 to see those eviction notices. To 1D, DF. Chair, allow me, because I've seen the appendices attached do not speak to the responses. Which one could be 1D, TC and the team? Thank you.
Town Clerk?
Chair, may I invite the Director of Finance to respond to that?
DF?
Thank you, Chair. When we were responding, Chair, we concentrated on the amount that was collected during that year. However, Chair, with your permission, we can submit the copies of eviction notices, but with regard to the 75,000 kwacha, which was collected during 2022, which also included the arrears for 2021, is attached on Appendix on Appendix 1, Chair. Sorry, it's not indicated D, but there is an appendix with a total of 75,900. I submit, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Nyambose, follow up, and then Honorable.
Thank you. Maybe you can, DF, you can help us fish out the amounts and the dates when those amounts were paid. And I want to seek your guidance, Chair, that we are looking at the year 2021, January to December 2021, and particularly the the 22,578. If you can lead us to your statement where it indicates that you received this amount. Thank you, Chair.
Is it DF or DF?
Thank you, Chair. As I earlier submitted, Chair, the total amount collected was 75,900. Chair, what happens is that the same tenants who were owing for 2021 were still the tenants in 2022. So when they were making payments, they were not making payments separately for 2021 and 2022. So they were making, whilst they were making for the arrears, and they were also making for the current year. So in our submission, Chair, we have provided the total amounts collected for 2022, which also included for 2021. I submit, Chair.
Yes, the member was saying you lead us to where that figure is. Yes. Is it on the same Appendix 1?
Sorry, Chair, on Appendix 1?
Yes.
I think it should be before. There's a green copy for the financial statements, but I think before that document, there's a column which is showing details, and on the details, Chair, it's showing rentals, stroke list of council properties. That is the sales ledger. I submit, Chair.
Rental stroke lease. I see, okay. I see, Honorable.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. TC, how regular do you review your budget? Thank you, Chair.
DF, how regular do you review your budgets?
Thank you, Chair. Budgets are reviewed quarterly, but also as management, we do have weekly management brief meetings where we discuss the issues to do with revenue collection. I submit, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair,
yes.
On the same page 4, when you go on billboard, there's a statement where
page 4?
Yes, where there's a statement where the council is saying the variance under the budget line is because billboards were abandoned. Maybe we might need an explanation on this. What do you mean billboards were abandoned?
Town clerk? The former town clerk?
Thank you very much, Chair. What we mean by this is that there are certain billboards which are erected on the reserve road reserves, but over time, the owners disappear, and they just leave the billboard standing. That is what we are meaning here.
How, Chair? How do they disappear?
Town clerk, former town clerk?
Sure, sir. This is in an event where the organization maybe close up or wind up their business and the billboards just remain. So that is one case.
But at that time, town clerk, when you realized or discovered that the people disappeared or the company has closed down, and then you had the auditors engaging you, did you give them that information so that you put that attachment actually for management? Say, no, there was this thing and 1, 2, 3, 4 billboards. We realized these people either they have closed the company or they have just disappeared. A management minute over the same. Did you do that?
No, Chair. It was an oversight on our part.
Because how do we know how many have disappeared and all those things? At least the management was supposed to present a document. So no, actually we, on the people that are not there or the companies that have closed up, we have this and the management produced this during the management meeting and attach it here, then it carries weight. Thank you very much.
Chair, just on that one, for a municipal council, is it right, is it a correct report to say they just disappeared and abandoned? Or should it have been explained to say these companies for dead? And is this a correct report?
I think he has admitted that actually that was an oversight because we needed those details at the end of the day coming from the management. Honorable Simumba, then Honorable Nyambose.
I think on another question, Chair.
Yes. Yeah? On the same one. Okay, let's wind up
Chair,
on this.
yeah, on this one we're winding up. Yes. Especially Director of Finance. I've perused through the rental charges that we are charging for these properties. Some of them 1,600, some of them 4,000 to the most per month, I presume, or for the whole year. And when you referred us to the payment of 75,000 kwacha there. If you look at the dates of the payments, if those are the dates, some of them is February 2023, Chair. Meaning that 2021, 2022, they were outstanding and they managed to pay in 2023. Some of the payments are in 2022. Now, Director of Finance, what challenges do you have as a council to fail to collect such predictable income of 1,600, 1,000 kwacha rentals per month for Mongi Municipal Council, and yet your budget shows that you underperformed and you're not collecting adequate? What challenges were you facing to fail to collect rentals that amount to less than 1,000 kwacha or less than 4,000 kwacha? Thank you.
Town Clerk, Director of Finance.
Before he responds, the other one on the billboards. You have indicated there that you issued demand notices for the billboards. Any evidence to show that these actions you are talking about in this report are evidenced with the information attached of those demand notices? Thank you, Chair.
Director of Finance, former Director Finance.
Thank you, Chair. The tenants, after we were issued with demand notices, I think they came over to the council to sign payment agreements. So the rental arrears of the same 22,000 kwacha was also married to their monthly rentals. So as they were paying the arrears, they were also paying the current. So the arrears were structured in a way that we don't choke the tenants. So we had spread them over a year. So no wonder you find that the report is spread over 2022 into 2023. So when you look at the report, you find that even the rentals for 2022 were also paid. That's the 75,000 kwacha. So it includes the arrears of 22,000 kwacha and the rentals for 2022.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just on the sum revenue. When you look at licenses, you find there's an issue of database. No, the database was not updated. That's why this time they are saying the remedial measures, they have updated the database. You go to also levies, it's the same. What could have been the reason? Was it also because of that, because of COVID-19 that you could not update the database? You could not use the right database. What was the problem with you using an updated database?
Honorable Simumba, you can also give us your question so that we take two.
Into one, Chair.
It's a different one.
We are going, yes. To page 12, lack of disposal sites.
You can respond on the first one. You respond on the question from Honorable Kolala. DF, you got the question right?
Yes, Chair. Thank you so much, Chair. The underperformance, one of the reasons was, as it stated in one of the queries, where some markets are controlled by the BRE. So in those markets, we, as a council, we did not have full access. But we are just anticipated that because of the talks that we had with the BRE, where we're being assured that the council will also be allowed to go into some of the markets. So we anticipated that during the year, the council will also collect in those markets. But I think because of the negotiated, they prolonged, hence the year ended, I think, without making any conclusions.
Chair, now that they've updated the database, does it mean now these markets have ceased to be under BRA? Or have you removed them from the database?
Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. The 4 markets that are under BRE are and will continue to be controlled by the BRE. What is the issue in those markets is that we are supposed to license certain businesses in the market. What we cannot collect are market levies. So I think what the Director of Finance is talking about, at that time, because of that tension, the council could not even go to license some of the like business permits of shops in those markets because of that tension which was under negotiation. But as far as the control is concerned, they are 100% controlled by the BRI. But there are certain things that the council must also levy inside those markets apart from the market fees and the control. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Page 7, Chair.
Can we move?
Page 7, Chair. It is on Constituency Development Fund. I'll go 7. I'll go to the query or management response. The cause of the query is the favorable variance of the Constituency Development Fund was as a result of interest earned on Mongu Central and in Aliquanda Constituency Development Fund CDF accounts. Action taken, Chair. That's where my interest is. The management wishes to regret that the supplementary budget was not prepared to cater for interest earned. The council since transferred the interest earned to the treasury account. I want the Director of Finance or anyone to show me the evidence of the transfer of this money which was earned to the treasury accounts. I've checked, Chair, I can't see it. How do we prove that what you are saying is the action that took place? Thank you. You can help us. Take me to the evidence. Thank you, Chair.
Town Clerk.
My director.
DF, do we have the transfer record?
Thank you, Chair. The transfer record is not attached. However, Chair, we can submit to the committee through the Secretariat. I submit.
Thank you. Yes.
But Chair, how this was a query, and the DF knew it was a query. That's why I responded here. Why not putting the evidence that you transferred the money?
Okay. DF?
Chair, I wish to apologize that it was not attached, Chair, but we submit the transfer copies through the Secretariat. I submit.
Okay, Honorable, yes. Yes, you can go.
Thank you, Chair. Let me take you to page 8 or page 9. Maintenance of roads, failure to maintain township roads. TC, in your submission, you have indicated that Mongo Limunurunga Road is supposed to be done by AVIC. Do you have any evidence to show this committee that this road is supposed to be done by AVIC?
The town clerk?
Maybe let me invite my acting director of engineering.
Director Engineering.
Thank you, Chair. The evidence is that AVIC International are currently on site along Mongo Limunga Road. They are currently on kilometer 14, working on the road from Limunga Road to Nayuma Harbour at the Palace.
Chair, when was this contract given to AVIC?
Chair, the contract was initially given to AVIC in 2020, but were not on site until October 2021 when they were funded. That's when they moved back on site.
Yes, Honorable.
TC, so what measures have you put in place to make sure that this road which are under your council in the future are going to be maintained?
Chair, as we have responded in the contract, which unfortunately we did not know that we needed to show proof, in the contract of the works schedule, those are part of the works that are included that they have to be done. So as long as the contract is alive and they are on site, they have to do it because it's part of the components. Thank you.
Honorable Chirupsha.
Thank you so much. If I move you to page 10 on environmental management, that's page 10, page 11, and page 12.
To begin to wind up, honorable members.
Town clerk, for those three pages, we're basically talking about public health, environmental management. Three major queries the Auditor General picked out with that you are unable to provide protective wear for your staff as they provided services to the public, particularly the firefighters, those who are managing waste. Then you're also unable to cover the waste, the truck that was carrying the waste, exposing the public to risk of contamination using gaseous waste. And finally, you didn't have a designated dumping site. So waste was being dumped anywhere and exposing the public to waste. Town clerk, noting your answers here, what measures are you putting in place to strengthen public health so that your community is safeguarded from public health hazards that arise due to commercial activities that are happening in your jurisdiction? And having asked that, I want you to assure this committee that you now know that it is indispensable for you to ensure that your staff are protected, from hazards as they carry out public health work, much as it is important to protect the community itself.
Thank you very much. Town clerk.
Thank you, Chair, for the question from the Honorable. I'll start with the issue of it is true, as it was observed, that the council at that time did not have a dump site, designated dump site. So what we did as a corrective measure is that we procured land in excess of actually 60 hectares of land, and the evidence is there. That land, we are not just using it as a dump site. We want to develop it a proper landfill. And why we acquired the size of that land is that we want to invite stakeholders that along within that land, we have ideas that we can invite those that can put a processing plant to separate the waste and regenerate it and reuse it. So that was the first issue, to deal with the issue of indiscriminate disposal of waste, to Secondly, as you observed, Chair, yes, it was actually inadequate protective clothing, insufficient. They were provided, but they are not sufficient enough. So it is the insufficiency that we have tried to work to ensure that we cannot use our officers, our workers, and expose them to that. So we have done that. And also, we have ensured that we are no longer transporting waste without it being covered. That we are doing. We are aware that we cannot continue putting the lives of our citizens in danger, as well as our own employees. I submit, Chair.
To him.
A follow-up to the question from Doc, especially on the protective clothing. You have indicated there in your report that you have since procured this protective clothing. I will not emphasize the need for protective clothing as indicated by Doc, which is a condition of service for the workers. But you have indicated that you have since procured. But I have not seen the evidence. What I have seen are pictures of people wearing uniforms, protective clothing. And why I've said so, Chair, the procurement of that land, which is commendable, has been backed by proper evidence of a payment voucher. As for the procurement of the protective clothing, there is no evidence, only pictures of people in uniforms or protective clothing, which can be picked from any other council or any other institution. Why have you neglected to do so to confirm what Doctor has indicated, the need for protective clothing? That evidence does not speak to the response. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, just an addition. Where did the money for buying this land come from? Was it equalization or was it from local revenue?
Thank you. Honorable Simumba, you can as well ask. We have 3 questions.
Yeah, for me, Chair, I will take you to page 17, misapplication of funds. Chair, my interest is during the period under review, the council misapplied amounting to 823, and when you look at the action taken, the management wishes to state that when the financial status improved, the council reimbursed the borrowed funds. See Appendix 9. So, Chair, when you go to Appendix 9, the auditor's report says as at 30th September 2022, the funds had not been reimbursed. When you go to the appendix, Chair, the council started depositing in August. The August, there are some monies that the council started depositing because they had to borrow that money. According to the information from the external auditor, they are saying by 30th September there was nothing in the account, the embezzling. I would want to find out which one is the correct statement. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Town Clerk, I think we had 3 questions then.
Thank you. Sorry, Chair. We take it that we should also have submitted the evidence of the procurement of protective clothing to ensure that they are sufficient. We did not. We thought the pictures would suffice. Otherwise, we take the danger that we may picture other people that are not our employees. We should have done that, and we will do that. The source of the funding for the land is, since land is a capital asset, we got it from our capital expenditure. The capital expenditure component, an account, is what we contribute from the locally generated and what we conveyed from the equalization fund. So we got it from the capital component. So it could either have been funded.
Which capital component? Yes. Under equalization fund?
Yeah, when we get equalization fund, we get the 20% capital content and put it in a capital account. And from our local generated resources, we also deposit a certain amounts to contribute to the capital. So we got it from that vote.
So how much did you pay for it?
25,000 kwacha.
25,000?
Yes.
For 60 hectares?
Yes.
And you have attached the evidence?
We have attached the evidence, yes.
Okay, that's fine. Honorable.
Thank you so much. Town Clerk, taking you to 18.
Or you still have a question, sorry, sir.
I think on the maybe the issue of the conflict of the dates.
The dates.
Thank you, Chair. It's true, Chair, that according to the auditor's observation is that as at the 30th September, the money was not reimbursed. However, Chair, when you look at the two deposits that were done, one was on 2nd February, sorry, 2nd August, and the other one was on 16th September. But the rest, they were done after 30th September. So it's just that maybe these two payments were not availed to the auditors. But I think the auditor's interest was to ensure that the funds are reimbursed in full. So even if we had shown them the two payment vouchers, they were not going to raise this query. Because
did you show them?
On that one, I can't confirm, Chair.
DF, a former DF, did you show the auditors so that they would actually say the council has started paying back the money and so far they have paid because they would have captured that? Former DF? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. As earlier indicated by my colleague, what the auditors indicated to us was that even when you show us 100,000 kwacha, the query won't be rested because we want to see that the amount is paid in full. So a part payment, they said that the query will still stand. So us, we want to see that the money is fully paid back to the account. That's when we'll get that evidence.
Chair, the auditors are there. Maybe if that information before Honorable Kolala come in, because I'm sure if really they submitted something, they would stated to say something has been paid for. Now, I'm even wondering where the money came from. Just at once, Chair, when you look at the payments, it's 17 October, 31st October twice. November, December, you know, in December they paid almost everything. Where did you get this money from? Because immediately when the auditors left, you started paying. Did you just hide the money somewhere and then you started paying back?
Maybe I would ask the auditors, what happened? Did you threaten them to make sure that that money is paid back? Because we could see some actions afterwards.
Just on that one, also maybe clarity on the figure. Because on the statement, it's 623,404, but on the report, it's 623,638. Which one is correct?
So you can help us, Auditor, the General's office. First on the figures, then what happened?
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify on the working relationship, I want to submit that it was very cordial. We were not, there was no antagonism. We worked well. Now, regarding the figures, what we extracted ourselves is what we reported. And by the time we were finalizing the report in September, prior to the finalization, we had issued the final management letter, which if the payments in September and August, if they were brought to our attention, we could have adjusted the remaining figure. So I wish to submit that
The first two payments were unfortunately not brought to our attention, and hence we remained with the figure that we reported.
All right, I think we'll not dwell on that. We'll move on.
Yes, we move on, Chair.
Yes.
It's on page, is it 18? No,
sorry.
It's on page.
Maybe Wallace, you are looking for a page. Honorable Chitaro, he has his page.
Okay,
Thank
let
you.
him start.
Thank you so much. Town Clerk, from page 18 to page 22, there are two fundamental problems the Auditor General has picked up: poor project management and poor human resource management, which are key areas of administration under your jurisdiction. Summarizing them, you're doing an office block, it delayed to complete by the amount of 2.1 million that you allocated. If you go to your next project, again under CDF, you realize that there were questionable payment for building materials. And if you proceed further, that is under the equalization fund. If you proceed further, you realize that generally the CDF project management has been questioned on all the projects, or most of the projects that you did. On HR, the major issue has been that, one, you pay salaries net and you don't meet statutory obligations. Meaning if your staff retire, they are not even able to draw from NAPSA and the like. And we want to find out, why you pay salaries net, and also failing generally to meet other staff obligations that you owe. Those two big questions, and assure us, this committee, that you are remedying the matter.
Town Clerk.
Maybe the Chair, there are two components to the question. First is why it happened. Maybe my colleague can take it from there. The remedial action, what are we going to do? Maybe I can take it from there.
Okay.
With your permission, Chair.
Former Town Clerk, Sakamalondo.
Thank you very much, Chair. On the construction of the new office block, it took a bit of time to complete because the planning was actually going to be done in a phased approach. We had planned to construct the office block in a 3-year period. Year one, we actually budgeted for that, and then second year, just like that. And that is why it actually took a bit of some time. Then on that is on the failure to complete the project. Then on the next one, the questionable payment for building materials. I think this misplacement happened when we were already out, and so possibly my colleague can actually shed more light, because the court case came after we had actually left. Yes.
Chair, I'll start with the CDF projects. We need to know that we are talking about the CDF projects for 2021. In our response, we mentioned that the CDF projects for 2021, the major delay for the implementation, one, was the administrative issues of putting in place the CDF committees, putting in place the approvals, and so forth. That was the major delay. And once these administrative issues were done, when we picked it up from there, we are reporting that all the CDF projects, as we are talking about, have been done. They are on course. So that is what on the CDF projects. On the completion of the civic center, which is also a project management, yes, there was a delay. I think the audit was that it took so long. It was planned to start from 2020 or 2019. Yes, but when we came, going forward, what we ensured was that we needed to concentrate on one project other than apportioning a 20% capital grant to do bits of things. So we concentrated the capital funding to complete the civic center, which we are happy to report now that the civic center has been completed. On the issue of going forward, I have to mention that on the issue of management of the payroll, the problem that we have in Mongo, and I think elsewhere, if you look at the Mongo Municipal Council as we talk now, our council generated revenue added with the equalization fund is not able to meet even the net pay. That is the situation. And above that, we have a historical debt in statutory contributions in terms of ZRA, NAPSA. As I'm talking, the council was sued by NAPSA, and the judgment was entered in favor of NAPSA to pay 15 million kwacha in 1 year, which is not possible. And the sad part of the issue is that only 5 million of that 15 million payment is actually the principal. The rest is the interest. So these are the issues that are gobbling Mongo Municipal Council. As a municipality as it is, we have written to the authorities to give the situation of the council going forward. Otherwise, with what is obtaining, the resource base, the efforts, no matter what strategic management that we can put, these are issues that going forward are beyond. And I would take this opportunity that...
Okay, just summarize because we are running out of time. Okay, ask. So I'm saying,
thank you for
so
allowing
I'm saying
me.
the responses should
Yeah. This question is critical, Town Clerk. It's on page 15 on the payment of salary to an officer absent from duty without leave. I've perused through the report. This application for leave started in 2022, but the period under review is January to December 2021, and you have been queried that the officer went on study leave without leave, and he continued paying that officer. Looking at the evidence attached, why did the council authorize to this officer to proceed without express permission from the commission, and you continued paying this person monies which could have even helped the statutory contributions or any other important issues that you wanted to solve? Then the last question or issue is on the billboards. Earlier, the former town clerk indicated to say that the owners of the billboards disappeared. I presume the billboards continued or remained standing. Has the council ever considered an action of bringing down these billboards once owners disappear? Because if the billboards are standing, no one will come, but the advert is still there. Has the council considered, so that you can maximize on your income, but consider the two questions. The first one, on the leave without authority, and what actions did the council take for this officer who continued to be absent before permission? Thank you.
Honorable Kolara.
Yes, Chair. Also, my question, which was very much burning, is the same area question that was asked. Though, I wanted to really also understand why, from 2021, by the approval, this year we are seeing approved, it is 6th March 2022, but the person went in 2021. Do you issue verbal approval, or what kind of approval was given here to this officer? Looking at the law has been quoted by the external auditors.
Thank you. Town Clerk, Mr. Kamalondo.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I must start by saying that this case was actually shrouded in what can I say, for lack of a better word, in circumstances that we could not understand. One, the Local Government Service Commission at that time, I think that should have been in 2021, transfer the officer to Lusaka on temporary basis. No reason was actually given. We tried to find out what had actually happened, but there were promises that they would actually tell us. And after that period, that was given to her to be attached at Lusaka City Council came to an end. Nothing was actually done. And later on, we were requested that we send on leave, which we did, which was, I think, for 60 days. Ultimately, it came to about 5 months. After that leave, the commission also never said anything, despite making several follow-ups with them. And what they only said was, if the officer has actually been accepted to undergo a training, let her go for training, and only don't pay the allowances. Let her sponsor herself. And that was verbally. Unfortunately, before they could actually put it in writing, their contract came to an end. And that's how the matter remained hanging.
So, like you have indicated that you have been engaging them, all those engagements, to start with, the authority to have him or her transferred, did they write to you, or it was also verbal?
No, they actually put it in writing.
It was in writing?
Yes.
Okay.
But now, Chair, why did the council there, if they were written to, why did they authorize this person verbally? There is no evidence, because the approval that they've attached here is 2022.
Town clerk?
Well, for 2022, I think maybe my colleague can shed more light. Otherwise, as at the time I was leaving, the approval was not actually put in writing.
So, Town Clerk, you confirm that in these government systems or local government, there are certain instructions that go, that are special to certain people without following regulations, like this particular case, where you are given verbal instruction. What would have happened if it was a general worker? What actions would have you taken, being a professional town clerk? The regulations is very clear. You don't have any authority. So what action could you have taken to safeguard your position, to show that you are there and you are following the regulations? Thank you.
Town clerk?
Thank you very much, Chair. Of course, we should have followed the procedure in an event that general worker found himself in such a situation. But in this case, we were hoping that things may actually be normalized later. However, things move very, very fast. Before normalizing the matter, they actually had to leave.
I think you'll go to the permanent witnesses, labored. Auditor General's office.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mongo Municipal Council. We wish to implore you to, as much as possible, bring the necessary evidence at the time of audit so that a number of issues are resolved at that level. Currently, we are concluding the audit of 2022 accounts, and we'll also take opportunity of that time to verify the submissions you have made to this committee. With that, Chair, I thank you.
Next.
CS and the team. For me, it's just a reminder that government puts up, give us laws, regulations, guidelines, circulars for us to be guided on how to operate smoothly and within the laws. So in regulation 40, you did not follow regulation 40 when you are paying, 46 actually, when you are paying for the vehicle and what else? You are paying for the vehicle. This, if you had followed that regulation, you are going to save that money, because this regulation says that a payment voucher should be supported by the invoice, the supplier's invoice, a proof of performance or proof of payment or delivery of goods. So you were paid without any delivery of goods, and that's why even the vehicle case is in the court, and then that money we've lost it. So I think if we can stick to our regulations and laws, then everything will be smooth and the controls will be strong. I know these are the controls given to us. They are strong, they are only weak when we fail to implement them. So my advice is that let's just follow these rules and everything will be okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Salient issues, obviously, that has been spoken by the Honorable Committee here, issues to do with budget performance. So I think these are things that Mongo we need to revisit, interrogate our revenue, on-source revenue streams. The issue that you shouldn't forget about is the project management aspect, CDF, monitoring, and implementation. There's great emphasis from the committee here, so we would like to urge what the committee is saying there, that you need to really follow all these procedures and ensure that you effectively implement the projects as well. And I would like to encourage you to continue strengthening your internal control systems by adhering to financial management regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and TC. I think what is key in the session is around revenue generation, and key around this is billboards is a source of revenue, but there's weakness how you are contracting those who are putting up the billboards, so that when they exit, you should have contact details, and indeed, as observed, they can be removed, because other than that, they are an eyesore to your town. Database is also, it's one thing to create a database, but we should appreciate that this is a live data that you should keep updating of additions or deletions. Otherwise, they will not be informing your decisions accordingly. As already mentioned, budget performance is very, very key. It's not just an issue of reviewing monthly, quarterly, without informing to decisions. What decisions do we make out of that? And as mandated as councils, also is key once these core infrastructures are put by central government. Let us take keen interest in maintenance, especially the roads. If we can't maintain from our own locally generated revenue, let us remind the appropriate institutions before the infrastructure is wasted. Chair, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mungu Municipal Council, you have listened to the concerns of the members. One thing I will not say which you have done very well, but one thing we have tried to do is to come with both the current and the former. It made our work very easy, but I want you to pay attention to documentation in everything that you do. Mongo Municipal Council is an odd local authority. We don't expect these small things. So let's pay attention to documentation. Everything that you do should be documented, and we must be able to avail those documents anytime they are required. So with that, I would want now to withdraw the immunity that was conferred on you at the beginning of this meeting and allow you to get back to Mongo as you came. We thank you very much.
It's such a free upgrade. Now 40 on entertainment. this too could be yours.
That's right. A Chief-free upgrade. Pay for access and get upgraded to family.
Oh.
Pay for family and get upgraded to compact.
You know what I mean.
Pay for compact and get upgraded to compact plus.
Absolute ripper.
And when you pay for compact plus, the best is yours with premium.
It's gonna be lit.
Chief-free upgrade. Na 40 na 40. Only with DSTV.
Parliament is open to members of the general public who may wish to undertake familiarization tours of Parliament buildings, either in groups or as individuals, or to attend sittings of the House or parliamentary committees. All those wishing to visit Parliament can either write to the Clerk of the National Assembly or simply come to Parliament buildings. Upon arrival at Parliament buildings, visitors are required to identify themselves. A passport or national registration card is required for identification purposes. Those to whom permission is granted to sit in the visitors' galleries will be ushered to the appropriate galleries by protocol officers. Before gaining access to the galleries, all visitors will be issued with passes by the Security Department at the Media and Visitors Center. All visitors to parliamentary premises are required to wear smart attire, either office or casual wear. Furthermore, visitors are not allowed to take with them into the galleries such articles as walking sticks, umbrellas, briefcases, or parcels of any type, newspapers, magazines, or cellular phones. All such articles must be deposited at the reception desk. Visitors to the galleries are given copies of the order paper, which shows the order in which the business for that particular day would be taken.
subsidiary, ZESCO Limited, appearing before the Committee on Statutory Bodies on continuation from where we ended yesterday. Unless there are any changes to the composition of the teams, I would prefer that we reintroduce ourselves by exception. I hope you understand what I mean by exception. By exception, meaning only if there is new members that have joined the team who were not there yesterday. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I think we have among us a team from audit.
Okay, so please come to the mic and introduce yourselves.
My name is Wave Mangambwa, Head Internal Audit at ZESCO.
My name is Mayasa Maipambe from Procurement.
Oh, honorable members, I think you heard their voices yesterday. So then, Auditor General, is there any changes in the composition of your team? Accountant General, Control of Internal Audit, yesterday you were not here. Please come and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much and good morning, Chair. Mantembe Bannister is my name from Control of Internal Audits. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Controlling Officer, Group CEO, Cap 12 of the Laws of Zambia, read together with the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Amendment Act number 13 of 2016, gives you the immunities that members of Parliament enjoy when you appear before a committee such as this one. The same is extended to the rest of the team, such that whatever you submit before this committee cannot be held against you in any court of law in Zambia, except for the fact that you willfully mislead the committee, and that is in the unlikely event. So be cautious that we expect you to say it as it is. The reason we confer you with that immunity is in order for you to express yourself fully. On that note, I would like you to proceed and continue from where you ended yesterday. Just a recap. Yesterday, we covered your submission up to page 19. You will start from the query related to El Sewidi Electric Zambia Limited and proceed accordingly. At the end of your submission, members will be at liberty to ask follow-up questions on points of clarification and any matters incidental to the foregoing. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I will start from the query on non-review of the shareholding agreement nomination for the El Sewidi Managing Director. Management response. Management appreciates the observations and recommendations by the auditors. The shareholder agreement has since been revised to ensure that the company recruits staff from the market as opposed to secondment from the shareholder. Query on Managing Director and Chief Financial Officer. Response. Management appreciates the observations of the auditors with respect to the appointment of the Managing Director and Chief Financial Officer of El Sewidi. However, management wishes to submit that ZESCO management appointed the Chief Financial Officer whilst El Sewidi appointed the Managing Director, both who are currently running the company on behalf of the shareholder. Audit evidence of the letter of appointment for the El Sewidi Chief Financial Officer by ZESCO management has been submitted. Audit query on competitive purchases. The response. ZESCO appreciates the auditor's reviews. The ZESCO Procurement Committee meeting number 21 of 2020 held on 16th December 2020 directed that the price of $16.4 million be renegotiated. Subsequently, the ZESCO Procurement Committee meeting number 1 of 2021 held on 10th February 2021 considered the resubmission and approved an award in favor of Elswidi Electric Limited at a negotiated sum of 18.5 million US dollars. Both resolutions of the above said ZESCO Procurement Committee meetings are available for verification. The query on delayed delivery, management response. Management appreciates the observations by the auditors. The delay in delivery of the transformers was attributed to COVID-19, which affected the importation of raw materials and some components for manufacturing transformers by Elswidi Electric. However, there was an extension of the contract to allow delivery by the supplier. The delivery of all the 1,077 transformers has since been completed as of 27th February 2023. Audit verification of goods received notes for the received transformers are available for audit verification. Query on failure to avail procurement documents. The response. The auditor's observations have been noted. Management wishes to state that both resolutions of the ZESCO Procurement Committee meetings of 16th December 2020 and 10th February 2021 are available for verification. The performance security is not available because the company is a related party and there was no advance payment made to the supplier. Payments are done after delivery. Query on the failure to deliver goods by supplier. The response, the supplier has failed to deliver the remainder of the metering units on purchase order, on the stated purchase order on account of disruptions in the manufacturer's factory in India due to COVID-19 pandemic. Consequently, ZESCO has since cancelled the said purchase order. Audit evidence of the cancellation process and an explanation from the supplier for failure to deliver has been submitted. The query on failure to claim liquidated damages. The response, management acknowledges the auditor's concerns on failure to claim liquidated damages on the contract. However, management wished to state that the corporation did not claim liquidated damages as the cause of failure to deliver the goods by the supplier was mainly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, which is a force majeure. Query on lack of performance security. The response, management appreciates observations of the auditors and wishes to confirm that the performance security is available for verification by the auditor. Query on poor maintenance of the medium and low cost housing units at in Victoria Falls. Management response. Management appreciates observations of the auditors with regard to poor maintenance of houses at Victoria Falls Power Station. This was due to the lack of budgetary allocations for the task during the review period. Management wishes to state that following the approval of the 2023 budget, the procurement process of materials for the maintenance works on the houses was concluded and materials delivered. The maintenance works on the houses have since commenced and are subjected to be completed by December 2023. Query on failure to insure property in Victoria Falls. Management response. Management appreciates the audit findings and recommendations of uninsured houses at Victoria Falls Power Station. However, management wishes to state that out of 111 houses, 90 houses have since been insured. The remaining 21 houses are not insured as they are uninhabitable, hence paying premium on them would be uneconomical. Management will insure the 21 houses once they are rehabilitated and suitable for use. Audit evidence on the insured 90 houses is available for audit verification. Query on lack of board charter. The response, management appreciates observations of the auditors and wishes to state that the process to prepare a board charter has commenced and is projected to be concluded by 30th June 2023 and made available thereafter to the auditors for verification. And the final query on the questionable payment of allowances. Management response. Management appreciates the auditor's observations with regard to expenses that exceeded the budget and wishes to submit that the perceived budget overrun culminated from delayed funding to the club by ZESCO, resulting in a higher expenditure in the period funds were made available. In respect of minutes supporting the meetings, management wishes to state that efforts to secure the minutes for sitting allowances amounting to 474,500 kwacha have not been successful, as a former executive member who was responsible for the minutes separated from the corporation before the audit. Going forward, management will ensure that minutes are signed off and filed immediately a meeting is held. I submit, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Group CEO, for that comprehensive submission. Members can now ask questions on points of clarification. Honorable Kampyongo starts.
Thank you so much, and good morning, Group CEO and your team. I would draw your attention to the responses you have given with regards to the query on Al-Sawidi Electric Zambia Limited, in which ZESCO is shareholder. You have, of course, shared with us that the reviews, the review of the shareholding agreement has since been done, and similarly, you have also talked about the issues of nominating the directors. Now, this committee would like to just know how ZESCO Corporation takes external audit business. If what you are stating is the correct position, why wasn't this information given to the auditors during the time of audit? And similarly, why did it take the Auditor General to flag off the issue for you to deal with the review of this arrangement? I submit, Chair.
Group CEO, please respond to those questions.
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask our Director of Finance, Investment and Finance to respond.
Director of Finance.
Chair, thank you for what Honorable Kampyongo has put through. Chair, I must put on record the fact that from ZESCO we take the interactions with the AG very, very seriously. We'd like, first of all, to apologize that the information was not made available to them when they came through for the audit, and that we sincerely apologize. However, Chair, this, when it was brought to our attention, we did realize that it was an issue of a communication gap, which we've attended to, and we've resolved the matter in the manner we thought it could be done by taking a look at the root cause. Chair, what has been submitted as audit evidence stands before the committee in terms of having addressed that issue comprehensively. But we do apologize that there was a lapse in terms of making the information available to the Auditor General's office. I submit, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Kampyongo, is that enough? Honorable Msumali should have asked this question. Honorable Mapani can assist.
Chair, just
yes,
to...
Yes, Honorable Kampyongo, just hold your...
Yeah, just to press it on them that they must make sure, because this information is not for us. You know, this information is for Auditor General. So even when you bring it here, it will still have to go back for them to do the verifications So in both instances, the information you didn't make available regarding the arrangements of appointing the managing director and the financial officer must be availed to the Auditor General for verification. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Anakoka.
Thank you very much, Chair. Looking at the queries arising on this El Sewedi investment, maybe one would want to get an understanding of what the strategic intent was in ZESCO investing in this company, because then we can get an appreciation of what happened and what didn't happen a little bit better. What was this arrangement all supposed to deliver in terms of strategic value to ZESCO?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Honorable Member. The intent for getting partnership with LCD Electric of Egypt and ZESCO to form LCD Electric Zambia was basically to get this critical component of running a distribution network better. That was the intention. And so to put up a transformer factory in Ndola specifically, anywhere in Zambia, in this one specific case in Ndola, was that in Ndola you also are nearer to the copper. So in terms of acquisition, those things would come into Ndola. We've also got Zamefa in Ndola processing some cable work, so that would help. But also to be able to get a good price and a good deal, in that you can have these transformers on credit and do not have financial stress, unlike ordering from abroad. So this should be like a stopgap in-house arrangement to get you getting better service. That was basically the intention. And also, of course, to create employment for the Zambian people in that market, which has been done. I think that was the intention. So when you look at the query, some of them will point to you like that was not. And I think that's why this thing has come up here. Thank you, Chair.
Probably the questions that we should be asking is in how is this LCWD performing now? Of course, there's that relationship in which you invested 40%. The other 60% is for the Egyptian company, isn't it? So that makes the two of you. But has there been any profits or dividends obtained from this company? How much control do you have? Of course, 40% entails some significant level of control, since it's above 20%. The board chairperson is nodding his head. He knows what I mean by control. So 40% is significant control. How much really? I've seen those arrangements which the auditor is querying about appointment of the CEO and the chief finance officer at that institution. But then, how much control have you had on the operations of this institution to ensure that the finances it raises from the business it does are benefiting ZESCO, apart from really the service? Because there is money. That 40% went with money. So have you gotten some profits from this company?
Thank you, Chair. Upon engaging LCD Electric early part of 2022, the first thing that we demanded as a ZESCO corporate leadership was to inquire why there hadn't been any dividends pronounced or indeed given since the company was formed. Chair, I would be glad to announce to you that within 3-4 months, LCD Electric produced dividend to ZESCO to the tune of $2 million. So this was amazing for us because the company had been running for a long time. So that was the first thing we pushed for, to say, look, there has to be something. And then with the revision of the articles to ensure that chief executive and finance manager are appointed from the market, then we do know that no one shareholder will have control over such. And the board therefore appoints now a CEO and also a chief financial officer. And what we've done that the one with a higher percentage then cannot chair the board. The board is chaired by the one with a lower percentage. So slowly we are hoping that this marriage will yield better results. And we started on a good note. In our first year of office, we managed to get $2 million dividend from that institution. Thank you, Chair.
Now, controlling officer, of course, MD, through you, Group CEO, we are aware, by virtue of us being members of this committee, we are aware about the happenings at El Swidi. And we are also aware that this decision to come up and all of a sudden to pay dividends was hatched because of change of government. We can only suspect that is what happened. So we want to find out from you, really, what motivated this thing of them all of a sudden they are now able to pay dividends. And then you also gladly simply accept them that, oh, now that you're able to pay dividends, the relationship now is good, without us going back to what happened from the time the institution was formed, from the time this relationship was hatched, to the time when they all of a sudden thought they can pay dividends. Because do we have any form of investigation going into the operations of this LCD?
Chair, we are smiling here because when the MD finished that submission, I was telling him you did not complete it. So what he was actually supposed to extend is what is actually also going on concerning the history of it. We've noted as well that if somebody can come and give you $2 million just like that, then the question is, but what's the history of this? How much more basically is there? So some of the bits concerning review of articles and so forth are partly that, but we are aligned with your thoughts. This is something that within ourselves we know has to be done. We need to look at the history since inception concerning the institution.
Yeah, but then the worry is, I think it might be a bit too late if this was not really looked at from the outset. That's the worry. And this committee, of course, will be very much interested in knowing the value of your investment into El Swidi, and also how that dividend was all of a sudden paid, how they came up with that. Do you have access to their financials? Are they audited? Who audited them? Are you satisfied with the calculations of the dividend that they paid? So several questions exist. So to me, at the end of the day, as a group CEO, I think you should be asking ZESCO to appropriately look into this matter thoroughly. And not just thoroughly in a boardroom. There must be a forensic investigation into that. Honorable Nakoka would like to comment.
Thank you, Chair. I think you've actually taken the words out of my mouth, Chair. But I wanted to indicate also that this arrangement, which is why I was asking about the strategic intent, certainly was far much more than the 40% investment. Because ZESCO seemingly is also the market guarantor here. You are the sole customer of the transformers produced by El Sewedi. Now, in your relationship going forward, are we seeing whatever it is that you are doing, Group CEO now, also taking into account of how much influence you have over this company. Because looking at it, it would almost look like somebody made a deliberate decision to go for 40%, so that money goes, but you don't have a very strong eye because of your shareholding, which is lower. But at the same time, you are the suppliers of basically all the funding that goes into this. Because I also want to ask myself, is the pricing structure of these transformers being done at a market rate? And I know there's a query actually that is still coming up. Or was the arrangement supposed to be transfer pricing of some sort at cost plus maybe margins, or are we talking about cost plus whatever it is that you wanted to incorporate in this? Because normally when you do an arrangement like this, there has to be some other benefits beyond just the fact that you are a shareholder waiting for dividends to be declared. And finally, Group CEO, in the memorandum, or is it the articles of association here, was there a standard agreement on dividends, or it is the dividends are to be declared as per the performance of the company based on the directors' approval or proposal, as it were, and then the shareholders approving? What exactly were the nitty-gritties of the arrangement here with LCWD?
As you respond to that, these questions, Group CEO, are emanating from the fact that there seems to be a blanket on the initial arrangements. We are not privy to the balance sheet equation at inception. We would be very much willing to know really what is contained in the other 60%. We could be talking of people just overvaluing a goodwill, and yet you, ZESCO, what is contained in the 40% is serious hard-earned cash. 40%. And the other 60% probably could be represented by some big chunk of goodwill. I'm now thinking in those lines. So you need to really pierce the veil and find out from the very inception on how the balance sheet equation sits. What was the day one statement of financial position at the time you pumped in the 40%? How does that 60% look like? Is it in form of expertise or in form of money the same as what you had brought in?
Thank you, Chair.
Because it's very easy for this committee to be, to be made to be convinced that, oh, there is a 60% on the other side, and yet the composition of the 60% is actually non-existent.
Thank you, Chair. I think in our discussions concerning LSWIDI, especially concerning the dividends, perhaps I think this is more a failing on my part, because we're looking at, well, if we've got a dividend that has come in, what is the history and their capability of actually looking at this, providing more dividends to us, given the years where there's been no dividend. But as I hear your query, sir, and your questions, it looks like, yes, we need to delve deeper into the forensics right from the beginning, and not just leave it at the income generation side.
For sure, the relationship cannot be considered to be ongoing without really looking at the inception issues. So definitely we'll be looking for some answers from you on this one. It remains pending for now, but we are keeping a very close eye on it. And our recommendation for now stands that we should have a forensic audit from that. Okay. Honorable members, I'd like to proceed to the next. Contract for the supply and delivery of distribution transformers. Okay, uncompetitive procurement. Honorable Mapani, you can handle that one.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, like you indicated on the contract for the supply and delivery of distribution transformers, Chair, question number one will come from uncompetitive procurement, and the implication, Chair, is appointment of managing director does not meet ZESCO's aspirations, and this can be deduced from page 20 of their memorandum, and they stated that the shareholders' agreement has since been revised. Now the question is, Chair, Chief Executive Officer, why did it have to take the Auditor General for you to revise the agreement? Why did it have to take the Auditor General for you to actually revise the agreement? That is question number one, Chair. I don't know whether we can put it up and proceed to the next one, or we wait for them to answer.
You can proceed and answer that query, then he'll go to the next.
Chair and members, why did it take ZESCO so long to engage the partners to revise the articles?
Yes. The agreement.
The agreement. Chair, what we have is the legacy issue, which we believe that we mismanaged in the past. And even before Auditor General queried it, this engagement was done. That's how even the dividend was paid, even before Auditor General concluded the report. We believe that what we had sat on in the past was not becoming and was not what the intent was. The issue of pricing on transformers, the issue of having one managing director since inception until we queried it, and also the chief financial officer since inception, were issues that were not to be. And so the revision was almost with immediate effect. Once we discussed this with our partners, we agreed that the appointments should be from the market and that the company should run commercially, while ZESCO still sticks on with its strategic intent and hold in this company. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mapani.
Chair, let me proceed to delayed deliveries. The implication is the existing contract may not have been awarded competitively. Chair, failure to avail the procurement documents. And this can be extracted from page 327 to 328 of the Auditor General's report. Chair, the implication is the delay may have caused adverse operation and financial impact. Chair, the question is, why didn't the evaluation committee follow the guidance given by the procurement committee to carry out the market price comparison for the transformers? Instead, the evaluation committee just compared the price increase from L3 suite. I don't know the way to pronounce it. I think that's so that is the question. So we want to find out why the evaluation committee did not follow the guidance that was given to them by the procurement committee on the procurement on the comparison for the transformer. Instead, the evaluation committee just compared the price increase from the LCD. So this is what we want to find.
Auditor General, kindly come to the mic. We need your assistance on this one. This query, controlling officer, is related to business with a related party in which you have interests. And now, here, yes, it is acknowledged that this is a related party and it is a related party transaction. However, the procurement procedures dictated by our Procurement Act have to be followed. So here we are, auditors are raising an issue on procurement issues. So, Auditor General, I wanted you to describe the nature of this query, how it came about, what exactly was lost? Was this procurement uncompetitive, considering the fact that this is a related party? Did they abrogate any provisions of the law by going this way? Did ZESCO lose out by engaging in this manner?
Thank you, Chair. I think that's the reason why the procurement committee gave authority that they should actually, because they are related, they should not just depend on what the SOED is putting across as a price. They should compare in the market, so that if the price, for instance, is 2 kwacha, if you compare with other suppliers, is that competitive? That's the directive the committee had given. And that's why we are querying them, because they didn't follow that. Because the committee did actually notice this is a weakness, and they advised that they should actually follow they should actually do a comparison and negotiate from that basis. Maybe I can read again, Chair, the question that maybe members can
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. A review of the procurement resolutions of the 21st ZESCO Limited Procurement Committee meeting held on 16th December 2020 reviewed that the committee granted authority for the supply and delivery of distribution transformers by El Saweedi on 1-year running contract and requested that the actual market price be included for realistic comparison purposes. Okay. So this is they wanted competition as well. However, a review of the evaluation report reviewed that instead of including the market price, the evaluation committee adopted an approach of comparing the bidder prices in terms of percentage increase from the last procurement made from El Saweedi. In this regard, they are simply saying that El Saweedi last time maybe gave them a price of 2 kwacha, so they may be increased based on the last one. So the committee said, no, competitiveness is what is critical. So that even when El Saweedi is putting up across a certain figure, they would argue from that point of view, say, the market is saying this. So this is what we are querying here. So at least so that the ZESCO can actually get a competitive price. That was the reason why the committee advised as such, and that's why we are querying it, Chair, because they didn't actually follow what the committee had advised. I submit, Chair.
Honorable Nakoka, do you want to give a rider on that? Please go ahead.
Chair, after the Auditor General giving that clarity, I think we have a very interesting situation here, where what seems to have been a very innovative idea, innovation now comes in direct conflict with procedures. And it goes to how this whole arrangement or agreement or investment was actually structured. Because if this was procurement in-house, as it were, which is what ZESCO had in mind, I think the MD actually said that. It was an arrangement to basically manufacture these critical components in-house. It means that there would have been also an agreement in terms of the pricing structure, which was going to be a mixture of transfer pricing, bearing in mind what benefits you are getting in comparison with the market price. However, would it have been therefore necessary for them to compare with the open market price, which is exactly what they were running running away from in the first place, and also speedy delivery, I would imagine, would have been a key consideration. So maybe one of the questions one would want to pose is, has ZESCO considered how to, what's the long-term solution to this arrangement? Because it's an investment you've made, and it will be coming up next year for as long as you have El Saweedi. If the current ZPPA requirements are an impediment in some way, have we considered what the way forward in terms of engaging ZPPA to get the necessary exemptions? And if not, then we need to go back to what exactly is the relationship, because I think the ZPPA requirements do not have this related party exemptions. As long as it's a procurement, then it has to follow the procurement procedures. So it goes to what exactly we classified this relationship between ZESCO and this company to be in the first place. If it's an independent company, have we considered getting the exemptions from ZPPA accordingly?
Group CEO, just to revise your memory. Really, the query is about non-adherence to procedures, procurement procedures. That's where the query is. That's what the Auditor General has just explained. However, the spirit of our query as a committee also is around, I think, historically, in as far as our engagement with you on this matter is the 60%. Our worry is the unexplained 60%. It is very possible for a price to be set so high to benefit the unexplained 60%. So that's the spirit of our asking, the whys, and why this favor to El Sewidi in such a transaction. So as long as we have not yet explained the 60%, we will still continue querying why El Sewidi was favored in this particular one. Because when you look through clause, it appears whoever was awarding this contract for that period to El Sewidi had intent to favor El Sewidi over other competitors. But is it in the interest of ZESCO and their 40% holding in that company, including the service? So as you respond to that question, I think I've extended it a little bit so that you understand our thinking around it. Please go ahead and respond.
Chair, I'll start with the last, answering the last concern. And then for the more detailed one concerning procedure, I'll ask our gentleman from procurement. I think your question is essentially tied into the earlier question concerning what is the nature of this arrangement. And I think this perhaps was my failing in my earlier answer to say that maybe we were looking at this a bit loosely. I think the whole idea here, Chair and committee, is that we need to have a proper review of, yes, there's the forensics, and you rightly instructed that we need to look at the origin of this agreement, what was the intent. I think on our part we need to do all of that and then reassess where the benefit lies. I think some of the questions concerning are you getting the value out of your 40% that negates the pricing? We need to take a look at that. But I think that is our takeaway, as you've already indicated, that we need to do that, and that will stand on there. But I think for the second part, the more focused query by the Auditor General, I'll ask procurement to respond to that.
Procurement, probably I would be asking how long you've been in procurement, in that procurement department. Because we needed somebody who has institutional memory to respond to this. It will be very important. When this was happening, were you there? Maybe we start from there.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm to the August House that I've been in ZESCO, I think, for the last 10 years, beyond 10
Okay,
years.
perfect. Please go ahead and give us your technical part of the response.
Chair, from where we stand, we know for a fact that we procured these transformers from El Sewidi through a process we call direct bidding, and we did obtain approval from the appropriate approvals authority to direct bid El Sewidi.
I think speak to sorry to curtail you, and it's not intended at making you lose focus on your. speak to the issue the Auditor General, go very straight to the issue the Auditor General raised. The disregard of your own committee's recommendations.
Thank you, Chair. Simply put, there was a directive from the Procurement Committee on 16th December 2020 to the Evaluation Committee to consider determining competitiveness of the prices by LCWD using market price. This was a decision made on 16th December. That was meeting number 21 of 2020. Subsequently, Mr. Chair, the ZESCO Procurement Committee, the same committee that had directed that you proceed and use market price, on 10th February 2021, that was through Procurement Committee meeting number 1, they did consider what came from the Evaluation Committee. And essentially, what came from the Evaluation Committee was as follows. That it was recognized that price competitiveness could not be determined only on the basis of the price. The case of LCWD was a case that had peculiar circumstances, I think which ZESCO MD has alluded to earlier, that there were other non-price benefits that included the following.
And of course, I don't think the committee will appreciate the detail, or the committee will appreciate more of the procedure you undertook. So now that you were armed with all that information, why was it difficult for you to liaise with Auditor General and produce that before we could see it here appearing in the Auditor General's report? Because that should settle your argument with theirs before it could come in form of this report. Because they flagged this in the management letter before they could actually put it in the Auditor General's report. So how come that this evidence you're providing now to this committee could not be presented to the Auditor General then? Could it be a case of you manufacturing documents for the purposes of this committee to be convinced that procedure was followed? Honorable Anakok.
Chairperson, thank you very much. After the explanation, actually, I think the procurement department is opening a can of worms. There is a reason here, Chairperson, why their own committee said include the market price. Whatever competitiveness that you want to talk about, you can't do so without the market price figures. These are figures you just get from the market. So it should have been an easy thing to do. So even the justification he wants to bring, the following reasons, cannot stand unless the market prices were also listed. So that you say, as against versus the 1 million price, here we were buying at 1.2 plus the following benefits, which means eventually the net benefit to ZESCO would have been, if you were to put it in value terms, that you're actually buying at 800,000. But to suggest that, to leave that information altogether, and when he says that price competitiveness is not market price alone, that's where now he opens a can of worms, because he's now indicating to us, or at least intimating, that in fact the market price could have been lower than.
Which market price is not pronounced?
Yes, which market price is not pronounced. So even if they gave it to the auditors at that point, we would have still found it inadmissible without the market prices being included. Thank you, Chair.
Group CEO, the idea is not to convince anyone about this. When procedure is floated, it is floated. We say it as it is, and there should be consequences for procedure being floated. So we leave it to you to manage. But we have made our point. Honorable members, I'd like us to move to the next.
Thank you so very much, Chair. Chair, still it's worth noting that the ills that were committed, I'm happy that you have taken a position that more ought to be done so that the truth is availed to everyone. However, Chair, allow me to proceed to still further to avail procurement documents. But this time around, Chair, we are looking at the implication of the procurement process may not have been conducted according to the procurement regulations, which, Chair, we have all seen that indeed that's what happened. Chair, the question is, of course, this question is arising from their own submission. Chief Executive Officer, in 2021, COVID-19 was a non-global problem. The delivery of the transformers 1 year after the expected delivery date is too long. Was the contract amended to extend the period? Was the contract amended to extend the delivery period? That is question number one. Question number two is, what was the impact of the delayed delivery as these transformers were scheduled to be installed? Chair, I submit, or I can still proceed to ask the last one.
Please proceed and ask the last one.
Thank you, Chair. This can be still extracted from their page 24 of the memorandum. The question, Chair, is why wasn't the information availed to the auditors at the time of audit? Why was the information not availed to the auditor at the time they came to check your books? Chair, I submit.
Controlling officers, I think this is the same company, isn't it? And this is the same procurement. There's even a delay here. So kindly respond to those three questions.
Chair, thank you very much. I think on the delays and also possibility of extended contracts, I'll request the procurement experts from ZESCO to take it up. Mr. Ngalande.
Procurement experts, was the contract amended to extend the delivery period?
Thank you, Chair. The position we wish to give here, Chair, is that during the period of the 12 months, the initial period, when issues of COVID arose and affected the supplier from delivering on time, there was essentially loss of time, which loss of time was deemed to have been time that was still available beyond the original end time. So it is our submission, Mr. Chair, that when the final deliveries were being done on 27 February 2022, the delivery was being done within what was provided for in the contract that was signed at the time. We submit, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and there was another question on the EDG. Just respond to Honorable Mapani. Are you satisfied with the response given, especially on the impact of the delay?
Chair, he hasn't answered the question per se, and if I heard him correct, Chair, he has never given a position as to why, as to whether the contract was amended or not. Having known that, or realized that the performance was not actually done within the stipulated period. He hasn't done that, Chair. And then the impact, Chair, as well, we need to know whether ZESCO, despite not receiving the transformers in time, everything was okay. He hasn't done that. And the final one, Chair, will be why was this information not available to the auditors? Because we need to find out, despite all what happened, Chair, I think the auditors needed to know exactly what transpired and what led to the delay of performing the contract within the stipulated period, Chair, as submitted.
I hope, let me just take through step by step. Here's a contract. It was in existence. The contract for supply of these transformers. Now, the contract was there was a delay in the receiving those things that you ordered, and now our concern was to whether the contract was extended, because it looks like it went beyond the contract date, and there should be documentation to that effect showing that the contract was extended. Which documentation Honorable Mapani is asking, as in why wasn't this documentation availed to the auditors? Because there's an argument here to say that all the documentation, procurement documentation, in fact in your submission on page 24 of your memorandum, you stated that the procurement documents are available for verification. So meaning they're available for verification now. But why weren't they available for verification at the time of audit? Because this issue was raised. And then the other major concern is about you know, in the contract there are issues to do with maybe liquidated damages for delayed delivery. All those are not coming out. And then we are asking also about the impact of you having not received those transformers at the time when you really needed them. What impact was there on the institution? I think that gives birth to the next question as to whether your policy is to procure for stock, because a faulty transformer can occur anytime, or do you procure on need basis? So I think that in that context you'll be able to answer the question of what impact did it have on your operations. Because do you procure for stock so that you have X stock, enough stock for as and when you need those transformers to either replace faulty ones or new installations? Was this aimed at procuring for purposes of keeping in the warehouse in order for you to give to the user when they will need them? Once you answer that, you will have actually addressed the question of what impact it had. I hope I have explained this. Okay.
Thank you, Group CEO. Thank you, Chair. I think on the impact, the response would be that ZESCO procures transformers from various suppliers, and we do have some are running contracts, some are one-off contracts. The modus operandi for usage of these transformers is, as you indicated, Chair, actually threefold. One is to ensure that the transformers which are in operation and are servicing people, when they fail, must be replaced instantly. So we must have something on standby. So that sits in the stock. Then we also do have transformers that need to be installed because there's a new connection required. Those are the ones that come in and are programmed for installation. And then we do also have, Chair, a third component of the transformers. These are the ones that now you check on what your flows have been the previous year and the year before that, to see what quantum of transformers and how much volume of these transformers in terms of quantum must actually stay in the stores. So the three categories sit there. Now, LSWD is just a part of this supply. So this particular procurement has its own challenges, but there are other suppliers who are not necessarily covered here. So, Chair, on the impact, I think I would indicate that maybe the impact would have been that the stores volumes or the stores stock levels could have been lower than what would have been to actually address if we had a bigger problem. But maybe luckily that year there were no main problems to actually cause too many outages. That is on the impact, Chair. But as regards the procurement and issues, I think the procurement experts, I think, knows best to deal with that. Thank you, Chair.
Procurement officer, did you have any interaction with the Auditor General at the time they were doing the audit?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we can confirm we did. And we can confirm, Mr. Chair, that the procurement files were made available. They remain available for verification. Then I could proceed to comment on the issue of why did ZESCO not invoke the provision for liquidated damages. Mr. Chair, we found the reasons for delayed delivery very compelling. It was not just particular to Zambia, it was worldwide. Even if we had determined that we do away with LCOED, we may not have been in a position to get these transformers elsewhere at the time they were required. So we did not invoke the provisional liquidated damages. The question of is there documentation for amendment of the contract? Mr. Chair, I tried to explain that in the period of the 1 year the contract was running, when notice was given for difficulty to perform attributed to the COVID, to the disruptions in the international supply chains, though maybe not documented, maybe though not written and communicated between the parties, a decision was made that for the period the supplier could not perform during the original life, that period was extended beyond the original completion time. That is how it became possible for the supplier to deliver the transformers, the last ones, up to, is it as early or as late as 27th February 2023. That is the submission we make, Mr. Chair. We submit.
Chair, Group CEO, I even suspect the questions that will come from you. So may I just respond and say that these questions are leading back to the issue of us doing a proper review of this relationship. I mean, it is obvious to actually anticipate a question saying, but I thought you have a company that is manufacturing in country to be able to cover some of these issues.
Absolutely.
So I thought I should preempt and then say that we are back to your directive.
It's a deadly defensive mechanism.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and that's cool. Honorable Nakoka, unless you want to, Honorable Mapani and Honorable Nakoka.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to thank the IDC Chief Executive for what he has just said. However, Chair, I think it must be taken seriously that when there is an obligation of the performance of the contract, Chair, it's always important that the parties involved are actually talked to, and it has to be put on record or through writing. Chair, we cannot afford to have situations where we keep on saying one thing after another concerning the performances of the contract. The attitude, Chair, ought to be worked on. And Chair, the failure to actually give the documents to the auditor, this actually, Chair, ought to be worked on too by ZESCO. We need to ensure that when documents, when time of auditing comes, Chair, it's very important that the necessary documents are given to audit rather than us being given documents here. Because this trend, Chair, if we allow it to go on like this, it will mean we'll continue talking about the same thing every day. So the issue of attitude, ownership, and responsibility ought to be applied evenly. And that, Chair, will determine how competent our colleagues reporting these departments are. Chair, I submit.
Thank you very much. That was a comment. Do you still have a question, Honorable Nakoka, or allow me to move to the next? Thank you very much. Honorable Chibuye. Joe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. My question, Chair, comes from the contract for the supply and delivery of various metering units by Winmar Enterprises, and this has to do with the failure to deliver goods by the same supplier. CEO IDC, a review of records revealed that as at 11th October 2021, the supplier had delivered the 3.3 kV metering unit costing 183,744. However, the 3 kV metering units costing 2.7 had not been delivered as at 31st July 2022. Now, on page 25 of your memorandum, you have stated that the contract has since been cancelled due to non-delivery. The question of the concerns, CEO, is why did it take the ZESCO over 1 year to cancel the same contract? Why has it to take ZESCO 1 year to cancel this contract? That's the first question, if you can just keep an eye on that. And the other one comes from the failure to claim liquidated damages. And this is also contrary to clause 27.1 of the General Conditions of Service. ZESCO Limited had no claimed liquidated damages for the 3 kV metering units that had not been delivered. On the same page of 25 of your memorandum, CEO, you have stated that ZESCO did not charge liquidated damages because of the impact of COVID-19, which is force majeure. Now, when the contract was signed in April 2021, the COVID-19 pandemic was known. Did the force majeure include COVID-19? I submit, Chair.
Group CEO, kindly respond to those queries.
Thank you, Chair. I think we'll pass them on to procurement.
Procurement.
Thank you, Chair. Why did it take long to come to a decision to cancel the contract? Mr. Chair, knowing the times we were then, because we wish to confirm that COVID issues, they may not have been an issue in Zambia, but we have evidence with us, Chair, that where the supplier was scheduled to procure the metering units in India, COVID was an issue, and that is how to show the seriousness of the COVID in India. In our submission, Mr. Chair, we went beyond and said it was not just the factory that was affected in India, that there was disruption, there was closure. We have written information that even the owner of the company in India, we may not know the kind of a company that it is, died of COVID. So that is how this issue, efforts were tried not to cancel, but to engage till when it was evident that both parties agreed that we could cancel. That is how we cancelled. We did not think cancellation was the first option, but we had no choice. When it became necessary, that was undertaken. As to why we did not claim liquidated damages, Mr. Chair, like before, we found the reasons for non-delivery compelling. We submit, Mr. Chair.
Chair, just as an override.
Please go ahead.
This contract, I'm sure all contracts have got some clauses and terms. Was it a perpetual contract? It was running forever, or what? Was it attached to some sort of duration or period in which the contract was supposed to be fulfilled? If so, or not, was there any written documentation from either party, especially from ZESCO, what we call early warning, to ask the contractor as to why he was not delivering the materials, or indeed, if the contractor, regardless of the COVID, did he request for an extension of the period to deliver?
Procurement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Simply put, the contract was time-bound. In the life of the contract, we, to the best of our abilities, did communicate with the supplier, reminding the supplier to deliver on time, and the supplier did respond to us, and that information is available for verification, Mr. Chair, till the time when a decision was made to cancel.
Okay. Honorable Nakoka.
Chairperson, I think you are calling upon me to ask my
Yes.
my question, but the follow-up
Yeah,
question.
the follow-up
on,
question. Please go ahead.
Yes. Honorable Chief, we actually did indicate that this contract to Wima Enterprises was entered into on 19th April 2021. And the COVID situation was known at that point. So, to give COVID as a reason is what Honorable Chiwe was, in one of the questions, said. It doesn't really hold much water because it was an existing situation even at the time of entering into this contract. But secondly, Chair, this is something I think the Group CEO knows we have come across with some of the companies where the buyer, in this case would have been one of your companies, and of course in this case ZESCO, is the one that comes up with the explanation for failure by the supplier to deliver and say, no, this is a very valid reason. As a result, we couldn't claim any liquidated damages. They don't even attempt to claim, so that the supplier then explains and gives the reasons. Then there would be documented evidence of you accepting the reason. But the company seems to be coming up with the reason and then accepting it immediately and taking action to alleviate the impact on the supplier. This means that there is serious weaknesses in our procurement management. But Chairperson, with your indulgence, I can go to my question. Or they want to respond to that.
Valid point indeed. Please go ahead.
Chair, I think that's a very valid position. I think the issue of COVID is well known. When the supplier agreed to sign off a contract, must have had a source from 2021.
Absolutely.
Must have had a source. And in the event where they turn around and say, no, because of COVID, the source I thought had the stock now doesn't have it, is a bit of a different story. But just to comfort the committee here, one of the weaknesses that we noticed in this corporation is contract management. We have since put in place a new department specifically to deal with contract management. And Chair, as you might see, even when we fall to the next on the waterfall, the queries coming here, you will see a multitude of contracts whose explanations why they are not done is difficult even for me to swallow. As I sit here as CEO, I look at them and say, but what is this that I have? But that's what we did. And we realized that without a specific unit dealing with contract management, this problem will be chronic. But we'd like to cure this once and for all. And we have since put in place a specific department to deal with contracts away from procurement, which will actually now give oversight on where we are on contracts. Chair, just to digress a bit, there was a serious contract cancellation process which made me stand on the exit door of my job, and I said, look, I'm ready to leave if you don't want to cancel this contract. And this was coming from everywhere. Big Chinese companies had been given advance payments 2019, 2018. 2016 was the earliest one, the tune of $35 million, through of them. To cancel those contracts was like you are fighting a war on your own. And we had to cancel them and recover the money. And I think that is the kind of legacy that we have to try and work over and clean up. And part of the solution, Chair, is this contract management, which has really been a pain to this corporation. And a lot of money is stuck in these contracts, and yet ZESCO is financially bleeding. So, Chair, I think I would like to comfort the committee that there is something happening which should reduce the number of such cases popping up in future. I think these are the few that the Auditor General could have picked up. We have several more that the Auditor General could not have picked up, which we are curing outside. Some of them even worse than what we are dealing with here this morning. So, Chair, I think that's all I would like to say. Not to preempt the questions to come, but just to indicate that this challenge is actually huge, even for corporate management as we sit here. And the board has been advised of this, and they are aware that we are battling to try and get out of these waters. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Nakoka.
Thank you, Chair. I think on this one, the MD has actually preempted the question.
If that's the case,
yeah, we can move on.
I would like us to move on to the next.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, administrative matters. Honorable Mapani, poor maintenance of medium and low cost housing.
Thank you so very much, Chair. That can still be deduced from page 335 of the Auditor General's report. The implication, Chair, is loss in value of assets. Chair, in their memorandum, they stated that there was no budgetary allocation during the period under review, and that for 2023, the budget has been approved and material have been procured. Now the question is, why didn't the company make budgetary allocations in the past financial years, especially that the houses had been in the bad state for a long period? Why didn't the company make budgetary allocations in the past financial year, especially that the houses have been in a bad state for quite some time? Chair, I support.
Thank you, Honorable MP. Controlling Officer, good morning. You can go ahead. Thank you.
I'll ask the Power Generation Director to answer that.
Yes, Director, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think this we had an issue with the land where these houses, some of the houses are located. There was some proposal to change the land use, and we did evacuate some of the employees that were sitting on those houses on the proposal to change the land use. And therefore, out of that, the maintenance had reduced on some of the houses, but where we did maintain the staff, those were kept and were being maintained to a good extent. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Mapani, do you have another follow-up question?
Not really, Chair, despite just wanting to find out the obtaining situation and what are we intending to use that same place for.
Okay, MD.
Chair, we believe that that asset is still valuable, and we have since actually put aside resources to start renovating them. The houses are strategically positioned in very close to the power station, so in Victoria Falls. So other than staff, especially operational staff, having to be picked from town, we believe most of them could actually reside there. Our plan, Chair, is to actually get these houses habitable and start using them for our use as ZESCO. Thank you, Chair.
Has the issue of insurance been resolved? Okay, Honorable Mapani.
Through you, Chair, the next question is failure to insure property. Still, this property, I want to believe this is the same property at Victoria Falls. Still can be deduced from page 335 of the Auditor General's report. Chair, in their memorandum, they stated that some of the houses have since been insured. Why didn't ZESCO insure the houses, especially that the requirement to insure property was made law in the Public Finance Management Act in 20 18. Chair, I submit.
MD, I think at this point you would need to seek the assistance of your internal auditors, because this is where they actually come in. A lot of these provisions which are in our statutes, Public Finance Management Act and the like, the people who easily interpret them are the people responsible for internal audit. So they are supposed to be the ones appraising you. Otherwise, their existence is questionable. Then, if we can have such lapses, property is not insured and the like, their existence will be questioned. Quorum has collapsed. Who is honorable member? Okay, 1 minute. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think we now have a quorum with an import from the local government accounts. Local government accounts. Honorable Kamboni, you may introduce yourself to us.
My name is Remain Harry Kamboni, Member of Parliament from Karomo Central. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair.
We can now proceed. Honorable Mapani.
Thank you so very much, Chair. Chair, the answer was given by the ZESCO MD as to why the houses, ZESCO still wants to maintain them. But the question still remains as to why does ZESCO allow those houses to dilapidate to that extent? Because I want to believe that they are the record of those houses before, Chair, I submit.
Chair, thank you very much, Honorable Member. I'll request our acting company secretary to take up that, to indicate why the situation is as is and was so. Thank you, Chair.
Company secretary.
With your permission, Chair, thank you very much. I will speak to the houses that were not insured. In total, I think there was a total of about 111 houses, of which 90 have since been insured. As for the remaining 21 houses, Chair, I'll just give a bit of background as to why they remained uninsured. ZESCO had received an expression of interest from the Victoria Falls Eye Limited, which is a company that is incorporated in Zambia. And the interest was for them to purchase a portion of the ZESCO land on which these housing units are situated or located. Now, the purpose of this partnership was for ZESCO for this company to procure a Ferris wheel, which was intended to be used for tourism, to provide some aerial view of the Victoria Falls. Unfortunately, this project fell through, and because during the time there were these negotiations that were happening and the houses were directly going to be impacted by this project, ZESCO decided not to insure these houses. So what happened thereafter was the houses were more or less stripped of certain materials to be used in other sites. So for this reason, the company, I believe at the time, decided not to insure these houses, as they were going to be directly affected by this project. Hence, they would have been demolished. So it was basically seen as an unnecessary cost at the time. I submit, Chair.
Okay, fair enough. Administrative decision arrived at. Honorable members, I'd like to move to the next question. Honorable Mazoka.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on corporate social responsibility, in particular concerning Zesco United Football Club and the lack of board charter. And on page 32 of the Auditor General's report, you stated that the process to prepare a board charter has commenced and is projected to be concluded by 30th June 2023. Chief Executive Officer, Zesco United has been in existence for a long time. Why has it taken this long to put in place a board charter? I submit, Chair.
You may proceed to ask the other question so they can respond to them at the same time.
And in the absence, sorry, Chair, and in the absence of the board charter, how has the board been carrying out its mandate?
Okay, Group CEO.
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask the Director of Human Capital Development, who actually sits and presides over the Zesco United Football Club, to take up the questions in this sector. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. First, Chair, I would like to state that this is a legacy issue, and we would like to sincerely apologize. The fact that Zesco United has been operating from 2014 and not having a board charter in place is something that is totally unacceptable. But since we are in office, we have to change the narrative and ensure that the tenets of good corporate governance are put in place. And we have since commenced this particular process of having a board charter in place. And going forward, Chair, we can assure this committee that a board charter will be in place before the end of June, and it will be available for verification by the auditors. We submit.
Okay, fair enough. Honorable members, I'd like to move to the next questions. Unsupported payment of board allowances. What is the company doing to ensure that funds that are put into the club, I'm still going to the same query about club. There is a query on supported payments of allowances, board allowances, which was raised by the Auditor General. I just want you to respond to that. Are those payments now supported? I guess when you're paying board allowances, you keep a record of that. So what is happening?
Thank you very much, Chair. It is true that whenever there is a board meeting, there should be a record in place so that that record supports the payment of the sitting allowance. But the challenge we faced as Zesco United is that we have had certain payments to the tune of 474,500 that we have had challenge in terms of securing the minutes to support that transaction. And maybe a bit of background to this, Chair, is that apparently we have had some separation with the board secretary who was in charge of ensuring that those minutes are put in place. The committee will note that the figure that had been flagged by the auditors was at a tune of 1.2, initially 1.2, but we managed to find some of the minutes. Now, the thing that is the minutes, the set of minutes that we have not had hand on are now sitting the tune of 474,000. And as management, we are making all necessary efforts to ensure that we have access to those particular minutes. It's unfortunate, Chair, it's not an excuse, but we can only apologize that the person who was responsible for that particular assignment has since relocated outside the country. But we are still pursuing, and all options are still open on the table so that we can see how we can recover the money. We submit, Chair.
Human resource, human capital, director human capital. And I think taking advantage of this forum, Group CEO and MD, ZESCO, corporate social investment initiatives like this one have been an area where deliberately big corporates, especially parastatals, state-owned enterprises like yours, have used them for actually siphoning money from the corporation. We had a similar case with another giant parastatal body here, which also supports a football club, where literally there were no accounts being prepared. And I'm glad the Auditor General here is not raising issues of accounts not being prepared, but there needs to be that assurance of whatever you are apportioning to this club must be accounted for. Must be accounted for. And one of the ways of having this accounted for is where you have minutes. If board meeting allowances or board allowances are being paid, they are being paid, the unit that is being used to measure or to justify the payment is the meeting, the number of meetings that are held. So the cost driver is the meeting itself. So how come then that this cost driver event, which happened, which is so important and a tool for us to account for these monies that are leaving the organization, is not kept as a record to justify the payment? Then, if I put it to you that those payments that were made, I'm purporting to have been paid because of the events of those meetings having taken place, were just manufactured as and when somebody feels broke and say, oh, we held a meeting, can you raise a payment? And the payment is raised and it's made. What can stop me thinking like that? What would be your reason to give to me who is thinking that these, which were unearthed by the auditors, were actually not meetings that existed at that time, but they were just manufactured because somebody felt broke at that time? Your only answer to that would be to produce the minutes. However, you're producing them in retrospect because we have asked. So it becomes inadmissible in as far as this committee is concerned. And when such things happen, there must be consequences to this. Group CEO. People cannot just come here and say, we would like to apologize. We don't take apologies here because these are public funds. Simply, we ask you to institute discipline on the erring officers. People can't come here to this committee to apologize on serious oversights, like failing to account for monies which are public funds. I think you heard me, a group CEO, I've justified the reason to why it's inadmissible to produce minutes here. And now we are still looking for these minutes and we've found them. What happens to a person who fails to account for money? Because this money was in the custody of ZESCO. You had this money and you have paid it out to individuals.